Welcome
Yes,
to
we are
News.
live.
Oh, wow. Welcome to News and Nonsense at Noon. I'm Auntie AK, aka a queer Jamfi, aka the auntie of all aunties, and I'm here with.
I am Nana, aka the Black Fairy, aka Dark and Lovely.
And Auntie Farrah will be joining us soon. She's just running errands and she'll be with us in the chat soon. Not in the chat, in the actual show. Okay, so News and Nonsense exists because the world is literally going to hell. We thought we'd bring you the news our way. We'll dig through all the news and nonsense out there and give you our take on it. We're here to help you separate the wheat from the chaff, the sack from the crap, what you need to know from what you don't need to know. However, we do have some rules. Nana, what do we need to do? Or they need to do?
What you need to do on entry is book that like button immediately as you come in, share the video as well. And also now we have moderators. So if you were doing any shenanigans in the chat, the moderators can remove you. Yes.
We do like a little bit of a debate, but we don't like foolishness. When people start getting out their freaking boxes, then we're like, get gone, you MFers. We're not having it. We don't mind a bit of debate. We don't mind a bit of a challenge, but we're not having it. If you're going to start disrespecting our mamas and shit, we will come for you. Also, guys, if you're in the chat, as we said in the chat, we've got moderators. Please help in the comments. Please get involved, join the discussion, and let us know what you want us to get into. And also, please subscribe to our membership because you get $1.99 regular aunties, $4.99 you get us bra, knickers, and all. So sign up, please. Come on,
yeah. I'm dropping the link on the chat now when I find it. And you can sign up. And it would be great. Please, guys, sign up to our membership. We need more of you inside there. We need more of you as a part of the WhatsApp group as well. We're part of our little family. It would be great. It really does help us a lot.
To keep going because...
Yeah, we probably need to do a little video explaining all of the ways that it helps, like the money that comes in, what we use it for, and all of that jazz.
We'll get to the comments in a minute because there's some things I can respond to. Also, by the way, if you've made it this far, you now need to know that we are sharing our opinions. We are not experts, and we barely had enough time to do the research. So this is the Ultimate Aunties WhatsApp group. You want actuals and factuals, ask TLC or Google. Any links shared are for you to go forth and figure it out your own damn selves. Thank you, please.
Yes. That's it.
Thank you. Good night. And who's in the comments? Who's doing roll call? Who's in
okay, all right. Who do we have in the chat? We have Yvonne, who came in right on time. Thank you, Yvonne. Will Smith is in the house. Sora is with us as well. Hello, Sora. We have Glue Stick as well in the house. Scrolling. We have Lady Lyrics in the house. We have Sim Simmer in the house as well. Sim Simmer says moderators are the popo.
They are.
Yes, you are. Celine Dillon is in the house as well. I don't know why I always find that hard. Rhea Hampton is with us.
I always struggle with
Salon. Say it again. Salon.
I'm being literal with it when I read
there it. There we go. Yes, but we have Forever Sake is in the house as well. Serena is with us. Bra Loom is in the house. Elzon is here as well. And Ashes to Ashes. Elzaran. Is that how you...
I just want to go and address, because you know this is my Glue Stick. I have a problem with my sisters. I'm surrounded by Geminis who see time as a mystical construct to bend at their will. Yes, I'm always here backstage. I keep saying I'm going to threaten. I keep threatening them. I don't know how to do all the functions because Nana's our function queen. So I'm going to learn how to do it. One day it's just going to be me, and they're going to join when they can, because I'm always in the chat ready. I'm always here at 2:45, between 11:30 to 2:45, ready to get things moving. And then I have to wait and wait.
She does.
And wait. So I'm always here, guys. You're never alone. You just can't see me. I don't subscribe.
So come into the chat.
Yeah.
When you get here at 12, start chatting, because the chat rolls up on our program as well, so we can always see it. So just join in the chat.
We will be
on.
Not the
Not
late
the
one
one.
telling me how to behave when I'm on time. No.
No, I'm telling the folks, if you're waiting for us, start talking in the chat.
Okay, fair enough. I'm like, yes, and Auntie Nana has timekeeping problems and doesn't care who knows it.
Yeah.
Honestly, her and Farrah, the two of them, and I'm like, yes, two Geminis attacking me and their time construct manipulation. It's fine.
Thank you, Sim Simma. I do suffer from time blindness, but today it wasn't actually even that. It's just setup. I always underestimate how long my setup is going to take because every time I come into the studio, there is something else to do. So yeah, that's why I'm on a lean, slightly different to usual, but yeah, we're making it work.
Fair enough, Bryony. Not all Geminis, please. I'm not involved in this. I hear you, husband.
He isn't.
I hear you, husband of Nana. If I was married,
he is actually really, he is super on time.
oh.
It must be very stressful for him. That's probably what's caused all the grey hairs.
All right, guys, let's get into news and nonsense. It's yes, Kyan Andromeda. We're going to be getting into certain things around that. So, guess what, guys? Yesterday was International Women's Day. March is International Women's Month, and I have some not so fun facts. We're going to lead with some women-led stories because the world is going to shit, and people don't understand that women are important. It seems like. So, I was at the Women of the World event celebrating 15 years of Women of the World. It's an initiative that celebrates women of the world. It was at the Royal Albert Hall, all very fancy and schmancy. Angela Davis closed out, having a talk. There was an interview with from the founder of Women of the World, Jude Kelly. She interviewed Angela Davis, along with people like Sandy Toksvig and Annie Lennox and some other people. Sorry, I can't remember all the names. It was an interesting evening, I must say, but Angela Davis was the highlight. So a fact that was read out was studies have found that just 5% of recorded history is dedicated to women, highlighting absolute deep-rooted biases in documentation, preservation, and historical narratives. By the way,
Wow.
Wikipedia, one of the world's largest publicly accessible sources, reflects this imbalance by over 85% of its content focuses on white men, not black men, not even black men or brown men or yellow men or anyone. It's 85%. Wikipedia is 85% about white men. Can you imagine? While articles on women and people of color tend to be shorter, less frequently edited, and more likely to be flagged for deletion. How about them apples? Can you imagine?
Wowzers. I didn't even know about the flagging for deletion. You can definitely tell it doesn't go through as much editing. Definitely. Like to use Wikipedia to find out anything black, it's futile. There's absolutely no point. You may as well go straight to YouTube and try and find a historian or a psychologist or somebody doing a video on the topic that you're precisely on the topic that you're after. But I'm 85%.
85% is about white men of Wikipedia. And you don't even think about it because Wikipedia, you just go to it. Like, as you said, you think, and we know that Wikipedia doesn't have all its facts straight because it's an open resource, so humans contribute and you don't have to be verified per se, but then you have fact checkers. But the fact that that's the default. Next to Google, you've got Wikipedia. Now Chat GPT is entered the chat. But the fact that Wikipedia is a resource, at least at the very basis, 85% white men. Mad.
I mean, I shouldn't be surprised for the lack of knowledge all round that is out there that we all have in all facets because of how history has been taught and how information is passed down. But that is quite staggering because I would have thought, especially in like the kind of Hotep space, that they would put information up on Wikipedia. I would have thought, but I guess not.
No, because I think
it's interesting.
Yes, we underestimate how, because there's an effort, because sometimes you go into a page, it's like, that might not be right. You want to start editing, you have to register, then you have to start, then it is the energy it takes to actually contribute. But you would think at least people are dedicated to having our history documented. And the other fact that we must not overlook is 0.5% of recorded history is about women. The rest is not about women. 0.5% of recorded history. So then all the things that women, and this is a reason why we're in this world where our achievements are under celebrated, under recognized, and actually erased from history. 0.5.
Yeah.
It's not even 0. It's not even 5%. It's 0.5%.
That's
Bruh.
so you know what?
Yeah.
If you think about it, for the history that we know about women, specifically talking about Black women, so that we even know about Nanny Maroon and Yar Santois and like Queen Ngozi, they were prolific. So they were the Beyoncés, basically, of their time. But obviously, there's a whole load of Michelles, Ashantis, and all of that as well that were in the mix that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Wow.
It will never. And if you think about it, that 0.5%, however you dice that up, there's going to be a majority. It's going to be white women, and then everybody else.
Oh my God.
Indeed.
Oh my word.
Indeed. Strength 11, thank you. Greetings, my African queens. Thank you for putting out educative and thought-provoking content. Society needs channels such as yours. There are too many nonsense on YouTube. Blessings. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So as I jumped onto this comment, Sleepful Peace said, went to SA recently. The curation of apartheid history was great overall, but there was little attention to Winnie, critical role, and not much about women in the apartheid era generally. I was shocked.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So another fact, and we're going to get into some stuff. Nearly a quarter of UK residents apparently know a woman who has suffered abuse. So a new Ipsos UK survey for the Metro newspaper in the UK reveals that almost a quarter of people in the UK know a woman who has experienced domestic abuse in the past year, while 20% have witnessed it firsthand. And I think I know, I'm sure everyone in the chat, man or woman or everyone else, however you identify, how many of you actually know a woman who's been abused, and how many of you actually have witnessed abuse of a woman?
See, I've not witnessed it, but I know, like, I think maybe it's about four women I know of, and these are people that are talking. Now, you know, the stats are even more staggering for how many women have experienced abuse in their relationship and don't tell anybody about it. So, yeah, I know four personally that have gone through stuff, but I haven't witnessed anything in my... I lie, I have. Yeah, from a family member. I just remembered. Yes, I have. I have actually witnessed a couple of slaps and a push, actually, growing up. Yeah. Mate. It's so,
you
know, it's a bit normal. And that's quite shocking, actually, now I'm thinking about it, for like being a kid and witnessing a few bits of domestic violence. It kind of felt like that's kind of what couples do, like it happens in a relationship. I definitely had those thoughts growing up, like this is what can happen in a relationship. And you don't necessarily leave the person either, like it's part of the course type of thing.
I think, sorry, I was trying to line something up. I think what's when you talk about the normalization of it, and because I know couples that fight. I know two couples that actually just fight. They fought, and it was like, and I remember at the times during the highs and lows of their rocky relationship, I'd say to the girl, like, when you've got now you've got a child, you don't want your child witnessing this. And they were like, yeah, but it is what it is. Because I knew that when I had my daughter, no matter what, I didn't want her to see any fuckery. I'm blessed to never been beaten and never really been abused. I'd say like maybe there's bad treatment in a relationship. I've never been abused in any type of way by a man, and I'm grateful and blessed for that. And I don't want to even get into why women stay, why women put up with it, even if they think they're fighting back and accepting that. But I knew that once I had my child, the first thing I was not going to do is not let her see her mum suffer at the hands of a man. Because I remember that my biggest memory of my mum and dad together is not of them together, is of my mum in the chair and my dad on top of her, and they were fighting. And that memory is possibly the day that he left, but I don't know if that was a day that he left. But in my mind, I was 7, and that's what's seared in my mind. My dad on top of my mum and her pushing. That's all I have. Not a happy memory.
That's your core memory of their relationship. You have no happy moments.
No.
Wow.
Nothing. And I mean, my mum and dad are still with us. So, and I have a relationship. My dad's now in a care home. We protect our family. We don't want to have them out. This is when we're in the public eye. But this is something, it is what it is. But it's a conversation, it's a narrative that I've heard from my mum's side. I've heard that what she went through with my dad. So that's all. But that's my memory. That's my memory. And however that shaped me, I mean, I could have then become someone that feels like that's norm. So then I will go and seek men that dominate me in that way. But then also, I was never prepped for how to interact with men. Maybe because of that, who knows? But, you know.
I think this is the thing, because you don't know how, it doesn't always correlate to then you're going to be in a violent relationship because you've seen it. It can also shape itself that you don't have a proper relationship because you don't have trust in a man either. Like, there's lots of different ways that just witnessing domestic violence can actually shape your life. Definitely. Or lack thereof as well. Like just conflict resolution. Like, there's so many different things. Oh,
it's wild.
It hurts my heart, you know. It does hurt my heart.
Yeah, it is really bad. Al Zaran says statistics in the US are that roughly half of all women have experienced domestic violence at the hands of men. That is close on to 200 million women. The scale of the problem is insane. Sora says, I've seen it from childhood family members and still today from my best friend and her baby daddy. And then Maya is saying it's extremely hard to leave, and women and men are the most at risk when they decide to leave, which leads us not nice, but leads us to this story in the UK. We have had a man called Kyle Clifford. He's a former soldier convicted of raping his ex-girlfriend before murdering. And sorry, guys, it's graphic, it's triggering. So if you don't want to hear it, you can turn away for now, or turn off for now, or switch off. And do we have to adjust our words? I feel like people are giving up adjusting their words. I don't know. I don't want to get flagged. What's the rule now, Nano?
Because it's a news story, it seems like when I can contest it if it does come up.
Okay, fine.
So
all right.
he goes through everything actually in this. He says it all.
Okay, so all right, I'll play this video from this guy explaining what happened, because Kyle Clifford basically convicted of raping his ex-girlfriend before unaliving her sister, and her mother. And apparently he'd watched Andrew Tate's misogynistic videos in the lead up to the attacks. So I'm going to play this guy and take it from there.
The murder of Louise Hunt, her sister Hannah, and their mother Carol was beyond words. The three women pictured here were killed in a knife and crossbow attack last July. The sick man who killed them was Carl Clifford, a former partner of Louise. Carl Clifford pled guilty to the murders in January, but he denied one charge of raping his former partner before killing her. This week, he was unanimously found guilty of that awful crime. This is a really, really appalling story of a jealous, violent, and deeply misogynist man who responded to a woman ending a relationship with him by raping and killing her and members of her family. Alison Morgan Casey, prosecuting, said this on Thursday. If he wanted Louise, he would have her. He would control her. He would rape her. He would murder her and members of her family. If he could not have Louise Hunt, no one else was going to, and he was going to take down her family with her. As I say, it's an incredibly disturbing crime. Rare, I suppose, only in its extremity. You might see sort of elements of this possessive violent behavior very often in society, but for it to go to this extreme, that's rare. After Clifford's latest guilty verdict, there's been a new revelation about the ideological pools that he was swimming in. So this is from the Telegraph. Before the trial began, prosecutors wanted to highlight to the jury Clifford's interest in social media influencer Andrew Tate, as they argued that it was revealing to his mindset and how he viewed women. However, Justice Joel Benefin, the trial judge, ruled that it was not directly relevant and would be highly prejudicial, as Tate was an alleged rapist and almost a poster boy for misogynists. He said, the prosecution suggests the sort of violent misogyny promoted by Tate is the same type of motivation that, on their case, fueled both the murders and the rape. The defense admit this material has too vague a link and it is far too prejudicial. Ms. Morgan Casey, prosecuting, argued that Clifford's interest in Tate was highly pertinent to why he raped Louise, and carried out the murders. They go on. Just 24 hours before his attack, Clifford had searched for a Tate podcast online. Ms. Morgan said that this was revealing as to his mindset at the time as to how he views women. Detectives said they had found evidence that he had downloaded at least 10 videos of Tate. On one occasion, Louise and her friends were having a get-together, and Clifford put a Tate video on the TV. In the clip, animals were being harmed. Clifford appeared to find it funny, although Louise and her friends did not. And so elsewhere, it's been reported that Clifford, being a fan of Andrew Tate, so him showing Andrew Tate videos, was one of the reasons Louise chose to break up with him. She thought, well, if this man can like these videos, how can I trust him? Now, I'm sure most of our audience will be well aware of the nature of Andrew Tate, who has made a business out of spreading extreme misogyny to millions of followers. In case, though, you need a reminder of the kind of thing Clifford might have been viewing in the run-up to his gruesome crimes, this is how Andrew Tate talks about women.
I think my sister is her husband's property, yes. When a bride is walking down the aisle to marry the groom, the father walks next to her and gives her away. But I said that if a woman is going out with a man, she belongs to that man. That's his woman. So she wants to do OnlyFans. She owes him some money because she's his. It's not about being property. It's about the fact that she belongs to him and the intimate parts of her body belong to him because they're in a relationship. And if she wants to sell those, he has a stake in those intimate parts of her body.
The PhD course, the Pippin Host degree, was teaching people how I managed females in those scenarios, how I controlled their emotions, how I convinced them to work and give me most of their money, how I convinced them to share me with other women, why they obeyed me. We live in a time where the powers that be manipulate females through their emotionality to control weak men and control society.
Just makes my screen
I mean, yeah.
It's insane. It is insanity. Hello, Farrah.
Hi, Farrah.
Hi.
Okay.
Evening, afternoon, and good night.
Exactly. Wherever anybody is in the world. It's insane. And that there are so many clips out there on Andrew Tate as well, spewing the same stuff. I think, for one, if you're a bit deranged anyway, like the guy Kyle is, and his brother is already in prison for murder, but that you can find community with other people spewing hate about women so readily, that's a problem. Like, we can't absolve Andrew Tate and his cronies for actually exacerbating this issue. No. Because they allow people to fester in their feelings and feel legitimate by somebody else who was seemingly like super rich, super famous and popular, spewing that same type of hate. It is a problem. He is a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, because it's a calling sign to people that are like him and lesser minded as well, because they're seeing him and he represents all the things that they believe that they can achieve if only they control this element. They're not. Yes. Yeah. It's just Andrew Tate's got a lot to answer for, and men like him.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what we're struggling with, and this is the world over, is actually taking these things seriously. When do you find the red flags? When do you stop? As the woman in the relationship, there's that, or the girl in the relationship, even let's not even overlook that. We have, when do you get away? How do you walk away? But if you're fearful, that's another dynamic. But also when you're trying to get help from outside, whether it's we always talk about men holding men accountable when they're showing dodgy behavior. We also have women that say, oh, just stay with him for whatever reason. Just stay with him. It's not that bad. Either it's just like he's just showing that he cares, or giving bad advice, basically. Then we have parents and the pressure. You've got to stay in the marriage. Some religions don't allow for women to escape those situations because of religion and what it looks like for the family. We have example of what can happen if maybe when parents are judging their women. We had the young girl and the boy that's arrested in Dubai now. He's in jail in Dubai. It's a different kind of scenario, but it's the pressures of being in a relationship or doing things outside of the family's rules and regulations and their reputation, what they're more concerned about. So having a woman leave a relationship, especially if the marriage is a marriage of convenience for families, that's a problem. Yeah. So then it goes unreported, unnoticed, unsupported. And then we have things like this story here, where there's apparently a growing number of domestic abuse victims are taking their own lives, with 93 cases recorded in the UK in the last year. That's a 29% rise. So this story is about a woman called Chloe Holland, who suffered coercive control and violence from her partner. She took her life in 2023.
Before we move on to that, I just want to say about Kyle.
Yeah, go on.
His dastardly deeds. I don't think this has been publicized enough. He did actually try and kill himself with the crossbow.
Yes, he did.
And what he did was he shot himself, and now he is paralyzed.
Yeah.
I was just like, what type of justice did they get almost immediately? And the fact that he will spend the rest of his days in prison as well. Justice was done in this instance, but there is a real problem with how men actually think about women, and that they can go down these rabbit holes and find this media to kind of there's a lot, and especially there's a lot of black men that really subscribe to this way of thought as well. That's alarming. That she was alarmed, left the guy, and then he decided to kill her. Like,
before
that was the part.
Before we move on to that video, there was a woman in Parliament the other day who read out the names of all the people that had been killed. All the women all the women that had been killed, and it took her 4 minutes. It took her 4 minutes to go through. Was it 5 minutes? To read all the victims, and that's just in the last 12 months. Women that have been killed by partners, by men.
Just as you were saying about them going down the rabbit hole and men, because there's definitely, I don't want to, because there's some other videos I want to play, so we'll come back to that. Let's just play this and then I'll come back to it, because there's a discussion to be had about men trying to figure out their position in the world, but then instead of finding it out for themselves, they're taking it out on women.
So she was feisty, she's just a lovely girl.
What Sharon didn't know is that away from home, behind closed doors, her daughter Chloe was morphing into a different person, not by choice, but under the watchful and abusive eye of her former partner.
He was alienating her from friends, he was always kicking off. She was turning up at people's houses with black eyes, making excuses for it, marks round her neck and everything else.
Unbeknownst to her mother, Chloe reported the abuse to police, but 2 weeks later, she took her own life. After her death, her evidence was used to charge Mark Masterton. He'd been manipulating her, assaulting her, and encouraging her to self-harm.
She said on a few occasions of him attacking her, his eyes went from blue to black, and it terrified her. The video statement I've watched, he was telling her to take her life. He was giving her knives up against her throat and then saying, "You do it."
Masterton admitted coercive and controlling behaviour and was jailed, but only for 41 months.
Jesus.
I was gutted. He needed to get over 4 years for him to go on this dangerous persons list, so he could be monitored as high risk. No amount of years is going to bring her back or make up for what he's done, but he needed to get more than that.
The maximum sentence for coercive control is 5 years. Sharon is now leading a campaign to increase it. Sentences for offences like it are being considered as part of an independent review as the government looks to halve violence against women and girls. There are now more victims of domestic abuse who take their own life than those who are killed by their partners. And there could be many more, as not all deaths are investigated.
I mean...
Oh my God.
As
you know what? Yvonne is spot on. The sentences in the UK are diabolical. They absolutely are. Wow.
I'm not an advocate for the death penalty because how it disproportionately affects us as black people. However, like stronger sentences, for fuck's sake, at the very fucking least, give them stronger sentences. And because, as she said, go on.
I was just going to say the sentencing in this country is wild. You can get more for selling weed than you can for beating a woman up, killing, like paedophilia, like those sort of crimes carry less of a sentence than violent crimes. It's really, really bad.
Yeah, it is really bad. And the fact that she needed that extra time for him to be monitored, that means he doesn't go on the monitored list. He comes out and he doesn't.
He's just he's just missed it.
Would he go on Megan's? No, the one that of domestic. Is that Chloe's Law, where if they've had something to do with domestic violence, they go on that law list, and then you could search that up. If you were dating somebody, you could go.
Probably not, because he's not been convicted of that.
Chloe's law
he
is
was
about
just convicted of coercion, wasn't he?
What is that?
So
Is
probably
it
not.
Megan's then?
Might be Megan's law. Let's have a look. Okay, Megan's law is a US federal law that requires law enforcement to share information about registered sex offenders with the public. I don't know if that applies.
Okay, it's not that. We literally have one specifically on domestic violence here that you can go and look. I cannot remember the person's name, but you can look up if they have. But I understand what you're saying, Farrah. That probably isn't. But then wouldn't you call coercion a form of domestic violence? Like, or it should be at the very least.
Sarah's law allows parents. Sarah's law allows parents, carers, or guardians to formally request information from the police about whether someone with access to a child has a record of sexual offences. So it's sexual.
No, it's Claire's law. It's Claire's law.
Child.
That's
Claire's
the one.
law?
Claire's law.
So Claire's law is officially known as the Domestic Violence Disclosure Scheme, is a UK policy that allows individuals to check whether their partner has a history of domestic abuse. It was introduced in 2014 across England and Wales, and later extended to Scotland and Northern Ireland. So the right to ask and the right to know. So you have the right to, anyone can request information from the police about whether a partner has a history of domestic abuse, and the right to know that police can proactively disclose relevant information to someone if they believe that person may be at risk. It was named after Claire Wood, a woman who was murdered in 2009 by an ex-boyfriend with a history of violent offences against women. I'll drop that in the chat.
I hope he would appear on that register in some way, or anybody who has been found guilty of any type of coercion, stalking, that they also appear on that, because people don't know. You know, it's like they pop up again after a while. It's like they pop up again on dating sites, and then they have another victim. So, you know, I hope that includes that.
I don't know how it goes, but on these dating sites, I would like to hope that, in fact, I know it isn't done, because you just put in your details, don't you? There's no kind of back check, is there? There should be.
There should be.
There should be. Ooh,
I mean, I guess if you paid money for an actual, you know, like the proper services, maybe they would do a little bit more checking.
Like a matchmaking service. They probably would.
Proper matchmaking service. Yeah. I think my internet's gone crazy. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, your internet's dipping in and out.
Yeah.
No, I went quiet because I was setting another video up. But yeah, the internet's a bit mad today because Farrah, you're a bit wobbly as well on the vocals.
That's mad, because for me, I'm clear, you're clear. Nana's doing this.
Okay, your voice is like gargling water a little bit, like you're under the sea.
Oh, mate.
Oh, well,
I don't know how to sort out this internet. I don't know what to do. I've tried everybody. I've gone to every different company I've tried. So
I found this video from a woman called Chloe Law, and I want to get into the debate of it all about men going down this rabbit hole. But this is just some facts and stacks that she had about misandry, and the way that definitely the red pill people try and, as the way that Andrew Tate speaks, as if women are these she devils, Eve in the garden, whichever temptation, you know, with these temptresses that are just down to bring the downfall of men. And this rhetoric is being, as you said, just really being spouted out to men who don't understand their position in the world, because women are showing that we're not wallflowers. We don't necessarily need to be led by a man, and that doesn't mean to say that we don't need a man. I personally need man in my life. I need one, but it doesn't mean to say I want to be dominated.
Need or want?
Well, I don't know. It could be need, it could be want. Yeah. I don't want men gone. Do you know what I mean? I don't want men gone, and I want a man. I can live without one, but also. But I think there's room for people. If you say that you need a man, whoever needs a man, if you feel like you need a man, then you feel like you need a man. However, it shouldn't come at the expense of you having autonomy over what you want to do on a day-to-day basis.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened there. I was trying to.
I thought you were like, oh, don't go there, AK. That's a bit much.
No,
Like,
I was trying to
She
actually,
added something to the stage.
I get you.
yeah, I was trying to take my thing. So re-add your thing to the stage. I was trying to turn off my camera, like somebody suggested.
Oh, okay.
But
you did all that.
There
It's like me and Sade the other day. It was all going wild, Pete Tong. All right, let me play this. Chloe's Law's person.
Literally presents them as the same. For example, there's a book called Spreading Misandry, The Teaching of Contempt for Men in Popular Culture. The authors, Paul Nathanson and Catherine Young, in it, say that unlike misogyny, misandry is acceptable in society, both morally and legally. That's laughable to me. How could anyone say that misogyny is unacceptable in society when it's everywhere? It's in our homes, it's on our TVs, it's in our newsrooms, it's in our police forces, it's on our social media feeds. Misandry, by contrast, is practically invisible, both in popular culture and the real world. But let's take their statement and see if it's real. Can we answer the following questions? Can you name a country where young boys are legally allowed to marry adult women? Where 1 in 3 men are sexually assaulted by a woman? Where the majority of men are murdered by women, not men? Where men cannot wear what they like? Where men cannot leave their homes without a female chaperone? Where women dictate what jobs men can and cannot do? The answer to all these questions is no. But when we reverse it and look at misogyny, the answers are a harrowing and resounding yes. In recent years in the UK, a woman has been killed by a man on average every 3 days. Male violence against women is a leading cause of premature death for women globally. This year alone in the UK, the number of women whose deaths have led to a man being charged has now exceeded 50. The actual number will be considerably higher. This is just who's been charged. Between 2022 and 2023 in the northeast of England, 72% of domestic abuse victims were women. About 90% of homicide suspects in England and Wales are men. So when we look at all the evidence, the truth is that women do not hate men the way that men hate women. Misandry is not a threat because at worst it hurts some men's feelings. Misogyny, on the other hand, kills people daily.
I'll leave it there because it's a long conversation, but that's the point to make, where people like Andrew Tate are spreading that women hate men, and there's this whole feminist movement to get rid of men. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in the same way. It really doesn't work in the same way. And everybody's gone. I've come back to the screen, and are you there still, Farrah? Okay, I can't hear you. Okay, cool. You're on mute.
Yeah. I'm on mute, that's all.
Yeah. So yeah, that was just that. It was more her role reversal. When you look at it, like, what country in the world has men where they can't dress what they do, wear what they like, can't go where they want, can't take the jobs that they want, get killed by women. It just doesn't add up. So when men are spouting these things, especially for those who have been brainwashed by it, when men are spouting these things, you've got to really think, flip it, because then you're not really under the same attack. You're definitely not under attack. Have you frozen?
No, I was reading the comments. I should have put them up. I was just reading some of the comments. Maybe put some up.
Let's get some comments. Me too, AK me too. I agree as a man. Andrew Tate's language against women is at times crazy. Women are not properties, period. And you don't need a man to live to breathe, but you want a man, as Serene saying, in regards to needs and want. Let's see what else. It's literally all over. Men want all women's spaces. Not that, hold hold on one second. I have seen cases of men being abused, but it's less women. I mean, and this is the thing. We know there's always an equivalent. You can always say, yes, there are cases of men being abused. Yes, you can. So as Dun Kinney says, do you want to read it?
Yeah, so Dun Kinney says, men and boys are also victims of society's expectations and limitations. There's also a huge pressure on young boys to be sexualized from a very early age and to be comfortable with that. I totally agree with you. I think we all do. But we're not saying what we are when we're highlighting what's happening with women and the number of women that are being killed by men. We are not dismissing the number of boys that are also going through, adultification and being sexualized. We're not dismissing that at all, because if you look at the percentages, even the woman that was just talking, she did mention there are some percentages, but it's just not as high. So I think that's an important thing to remember. Totally agree with you that this, they go through abuse and everything as well.
But I think it's very hard, because I think when we're talking about one thing, this is about, in the majority, you've seen the stats, it's not like 20 versus 40. It's not that, it's higher. It's 90s, it's 70s. It's a higher level percentage. So it's not to dismiss. That's a sort of conversation we can have, but then we can't necessarily swivel and then say, well, men do, but it's in the lower numbers. We know that humans are mad. We know that humans can be crazy and can do anything to anybody. But the amount of women is in the stats, it's in the reports. You're not going to find an equivalent. And as the woman said, as Chloe said, what country controls how men move? We have it right now in Afghanistan. The women are not allowed to read, they're not allowed to sing. And men have restrictions too, but women cannot even go outside without a man's escort. There's no country in the world that does that to men. And if we fix that, that will trickle into then the smaller percentages of women doing mad things to boys and men as well. But we cannot do what about in this moment when it's more men. And there is a red pill movement for men, not for women. There isn't a red pill movement for women. So Ree says, ask any woman if they have ever been sexually assaulted, called names. All women have experienced it. And I don't think men have had the same thing. And I don't think we need to be going men to We know this, but we know the issue is men.
If you think about the Western society, which is, the society that the majority of us live in, even women don't have autonomy on what you can and can't do with your body. It's still being controlled, and those laws they're being more enforced, and the restrictions that are happening are gaining traction. So there isn't the same sort of restrictions on what a man can do on his body. It just isn't the same.
It's just not saying. Strength 11 says it's a very sad statistic about women. However, I disagree that women don't abuse men. I don't think anyone's saying that. A high percentage of men suffer silence. In addition, some women know that they can get away with abusing men. We know this, but it's not the highest thing. So what do we do?
The conversation that we're having today, this conversation is about women. We are not dismissing what happens to men. That is a separate conversation. We have had those conversations. We will continue to have those conversations. We're just addressing this off the back of the Andrew Tate story that's linked to the 3 women that were killed. That is what we're addressing. Just to be clear, we're not dismissing anything else. You can talk about one subject without saying, but what about? We're just focusing on this subject today.
Yeah. And I think, look, Serena's saying, yes, again, men are sexualizing young boys. It's the men that encourage young men to have sex, not the women. I mean, again, it's trying to speak about this holistically. We have the issue of we had that conversation a few weeks ago about men being, young boys losing their virginity to older women. That happens quite often. That's a thing. But as Serena's saying, as we're saying as well, men, instead of Andrew Tate preaching to young boys and men that women are the devil, how about talking to your boys about how to be men in a world where women are allowed to have their rights? That's a conversation that needs to be had. That is where we need to think about, okay, we know women aren't evil. However, young boys, why do you feel like you have to sleep with everything that moves? Why are men told that? Why are you told that you have to control a woman when it's absolutely clear that women aren't empty vessels that need to be taught and treated like children, which we were? Women were held back from voting, from having been able to read. We had the same. They were treated like enslaved people at one point. Women weren't allowed to do anything unless their men said so. So when we've proven time and time again, we invent, we do everything by ourselves. We can do it. So how do we teach boys and men to look at women as human beings, as their equals who need different levels of support, and the same way that women can offer men support about the things that they can't do or don't want to do? That's the conversation. Dun Kinney says you can't separate the issues. They both fit into each other. I don't think that's true. That's like saying racism affects everybody. It does, because when the world is racist, you have a damaged society. But who does it disproportionately affect? It doesn't disproportionately affect white people. It affects people of color. So you can't say this. How do you fix something where men see women as something to be controlled and killed if we don't do what they're bidding? That is not the same amount of things that women don't do the same. Just by strength and physicality alone, we don't have the same outlook. So how can we then say, well, this is something that we have to address to men and women? Because that's not true. That's factually untrue and unfair, I think. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. I don't know what you think. It's a strange.
I think we all have an obligation to teach boys and girls to value each other and to have respect and to not sexualize either. We all have an obligation to do that. And unfortunately, society is led by men who don't always value the opinion of women or see women as anything other than something to, as we've said, to be sexualized, to be seen as property, to be seen as a servant for them. And we're not saying that this is every single man in the world. We are not saying that. But what we are talking about is in society, that's how women are kind of framed. Someone in the comments said, when you've got somebody like Donald Trump, who is the president of America, which is one of the most powerful countries in the world, and the things that he has done as a man to women and bragged about, been recorded saying, got off of doing these things, who then calls for somebody who uses his presidential influence to bully a country like Romania into releasing somebody like Andrew Tate and his brother and allowing them to go into their country. And now in Florida, the Floridians, the people that are in charge over there, they are basically not happy about it. So it's kind of like this weird thing that keeps happening. You have people on one hand celebrating and saying, let's go ahead. But then it's always you have them doing that. And then you have people protesting against this type of behavior, but they're being pulled down by the people who are actually more in power. That's all we're saying. We're talking about, let's have a conversation. Let's make sure that we can keep these conversations flowing. We're not trying to blame all men, but we are trying to educate them that it is not okay for you to have this kind of control over women, because we are human beings just like you are. And it's not fair, because there isn't anywhere else, there's not a country, as that woman said, in the world where women are dictating, this is what men should do, this is how men should behave, this is how men should dress, this is how men should be educated, this is how men should preach, this is how men should pray, this is how men should control their bodies, this is how it isn't on the same level. So all we're trying to say is, go on.
No, I'm just echoing you. It's just not. Yeah. And Strength is saying, I believe that men don't report the abuse they experience from their wife, girlfriend, but therefore the real statistics for men being abused is not on record. But do you really believe, do you believe that it's equal? Do you believe that it's more? Why is the percentages? Because it's very much.
But let's just deal with the number of men who are killed by women. Let's just deal with that. Okay.
Evidentially.
Removing the thing of, because I think a lot of men who are abused by women do suffer from shame, right? So we know that. We know that's a fact. But let's just deal with the facts of the stats of the number of women who are killed by men, whether they are their partners or whether they are strangers or whether they are people that they just happen to know, versus the opposite. It's much higher. It is a much higher percentage of women that are killed by men. This is what we're talking about in this conversation. We're not saying that women don't kill men. We're not sitting here pretending that every single woman on the face of God's green earth is just sitting here being like a wallflower and doesn't ever do anything negative to men. We're not saying that. We're just saying the stats are showing, they're demonstrating that male on woman violence is much higher in terms of homicide, even if you look at that, than it is for women on men.
And it is. The only stats I can find at the moment quickly of the number of homicides in England and Wales, 2010 to 24 by gender. Of the 570 recorded homicides in England and Wales in 23-24, 414 of the victims were male, 156 victims were female. Although the majority of homicide victims are men, they are also responsible for far more homicides than females are. Just on the stats alone in who kills who, men kill men more than anything. Then they kill women. And then women killing, I guess, is women killing women, and then women killing men is less. So just on death alone, abuse, I'm not reducing, underestimating how upsetting abuse can be, but on murders alone, you've got men killing. And I don't think you can even say, because Major Side-Eye is saying, I feel this conversation will forever be a 360 because you won't put it from the male perspective, like this is pointless. What perspective do you have? Men always say, women we deal with emotions, men deal with facts and logics. You've got the facts and logics, and then you move the goalposts and say that we're not dealing with.
But why is it pointless to have the conversation?
Why is it
pointless? Why is it pointless for us to look at the stats, for us to bring in stories, actual real stories, human stories, and then to say that maybe that conversations with people like Andrew Tate, leading these conversations and influencing people, is wrong? Why is it wrong for us to say that? I don't understand why we shouldn't highlight that. The point that we're making is, if we have more of these conversations and men like Andrew Tate are not given the platforms that they are given, they cannot influence the number of people that they are influencing, and then these things maybe can be reduced. That's what we're saying. We're not actually dismissing that men are victims of abuse, that men are victims of, the ratio of arrests and on stuff like. We're not taking any of that away. We're just saying, can we just focus for a minute on what this is in terms of women? That's all we're saying. One conversation doesn't dismiss another.
It doesn't. And also this conversation needs to be had with men. Andrew Tate should be talking about this without the violence. And because when none of us are speaking violently about men, none of us have dismissed men. I'm not saying that we need to go down with men. We need to have men having conversations with men, and we're not speaking in a way that turns men into monsters. It's something to deal with. The way that Andrew Tate is speaking about men and other red pill people are speaking to men about women is different to how we are. And again, there are women that will talk about men in disgusting ways as well. That's not how we're speaking.
Absolutely.
Jacob Smith is saying, I'm sorry, men are offing themselves at rates that make you speechless. I'm not trying to hear about male privileges. Fella, we've just read, I don't know if you were here a bit earlier on, Mr. Jacob Smith, when we talked about all the countries and all in the world that have women that do not have autonomy over their bodies. There are laws in place where women do not have autonomy. Now, men offing themselves, why? Why is Andrew Tate not speaking to that? Why are men killing themselves? And because someone is killing themselves at that high rate, because of patriarchal, misogynistic views of how men should be, because there has been a very sexist way of speaking to men, that men can't cry, they can't express their emotions, they can't, they're supposed to suck it up and be quiet and keep on and keep carrying on or whatever. And so they don't have an outlet for their pain and for their trauma and the things they go through because of society. And that does affect how women see men as well. But that wasn't imposed on us. We were told to be subservient, and we were told that men had to be the leaders. And as we're shape-shifting, like, that's not necessarily true. Men who don't understand how to be, when a woman can put up a shelf, but then you've been told your whole life that men are supposed to put up shelves, but then your partner puts up a shelf, that makes you feel like, well, where's my position as a man? That's not the woman's fault. That is something that's been brainwashed into men and women, that men are supposed to do the heavy lifting and women are not allowed to. Shift that. Men who have, I'm going to say men who are emotional, men who might want to cry, then you're immediately labeled as LGBTQ. You're weak, you're queer, you're a puff, you're this, all these derogatory terms, because you might be a bit emotional, because you might like, you might like the ballet, you might like very stereotypical things that are assigned, that are aligned with what women do. Then you're automatically considered a weak man. And those are the things what are the causes of men killing themselves? So don't blame this conversation. Don't blame women talking about the very real statistics that we get abused and murdered and killed by men at a very high rate. So we can't conflate the two. There's an issue with male suicide, but it's not to do with women being killed by men. And there is a male privilege, because the world, as you can see, is being run by white men. What are you talking about here? Go on, Farrah, sorry.
No, you kind of said it. No, you kind of said it.
I got shouted at a man 2 days ago because I went to the gym and asked him politely to move the camera from my face. These are the things that we women, like my daughter even has, that when she goes out, she's like, to save things, she might give someone her snap. She might give, this is the thing. I don't know, men in the chat, please, it's an open forum. Men in the chat, have you ever felt scared to not give your number to a woman? And be for real. Have you ever felt physically scared that you might get punched, hit, something thrown at you, cussed out. If you don't, maybe cussed out, I'll give you that. But I'm talking about physically, violently attacked if you don't give your number to a woman. Have you ever been rounded on or walked past a group of women and felt like if you don't listen to them, come back to them, you're going to get physically attacked and hurt and might not make it home? Tell me in the chat if that's happened to you. And women, tell me how many times that's happened to you.
There's a clip of a woman on a train in London a couple of days ago. She's on a train, and a guy got on the train, and he must have pushed her as he got on the train. And she just said to him, "Oh, you know, you could have said sorry." This man proceeded to shout at this woman for about 5 stops on the train. And I mean screaming at the top of his lungs in her face. And there were other people on the train. This is what distressed me a bit. There were other people on the train, and apart from one guy who stood in front of him, didn't really do anything. But he was screaming and shouting at her. And I am not sitting here and saying that women don't scream and shout at men and these things don't happen. But as Aquaya just said, what I am saying is, if you talk to your boys, I guarantee you that the ratio of times that they have felt some type of way in public, or felt fear for their life, or had to give a wrong number, or had to just give a number, even give their number in case the person calls it in front of them, versus the number of times that women have had to do that, it's a bit lower. We're not saying that you guys don't go through shit. Of course you go through shit. You're fucking human. Of course you go through shit. We're just saying that in the world how it is at the moment, women are they're not on a level pegging. Oh yeah, this is it. This is the clip.
I was about to say, Chris, I'm going to come back to you, Chris. You said, yep, some
women are crazy, some men too.
Okay, Chris, share that experience. And is it multiple? And does it make you fear women? Is it a thing that's attached to, so you're scared when you're in a club or you're in a pub or you're at a restaurant and you're out? Are you scared? And be for real. Don't be tongue in cheek and trying to be a bit different. For real, are you scared when you go out knowing that you might have to exchange number? You might see someone.
When you have to walk, are you scared when you have to walk late at night on your own? When you're coming from the train station and like you're walking to your house or to your car or wherever it might be, and you know you got to go down a road that's a bit quiet. Are you scared? Do you get your keys out and use them and have them in your hand like it's a weapon just in case someone comes for you? Are you scared? That's all we're saying. Are you scared?
Yeah, that part. Let me play this clip.
Don't you start on me! Don't you start on me! Shut up! Don't you start on me! I am the last person you want to start! Believe me! Don't spit at off! Why are you? What's your? Why is your fault? Why is your? You don't start on me! You don't start on me like this, God! Why did you have a go at me?
According to the filmer, the man bumped into the woman and didn't bother to acknowledge or apologize to her. She then said, "Excuse me," and indicated what he had just done.
Why did you have a go at me? You had a go at me first! Why?
The next station is Edgware Road. Change for Circle of
She had a go at me first! And I am asking you not to go at me with prohibition! So shut up! Shut up! Shut up, you stupid woman! Shut up!
Shut your mouth!
No, you shut your mouth!
You've been taking too much drugs, mate, yeah? Calm down!
I don't take drugs! Why you accuse me of running books now, are you? You really are just a stupid fucking cow, aren't you? You really are a stupid woman! Making accusations like that! You stupid! Get off! No, you get off the drugs! You let you know, like you?
Oh, drop dead will you, mate? You do my head again? Drop dead will you? I think you drop down and do everyone in the face and shut your mouth.
Finally, he sat down like nothing happened. He even got out a newspaper to do some Sudoku.
I mean, do you know what the big telling thing is? The way you're saying fucking woman. And it's that kind of, I'm a woman. And everyone's standing there. And we've talked about people getting involved.
And then he got out his newspaper and started doing Sudoku.
Listen, she was even brave.
Yes,
she was even brave in amongst that, and maybe she felt a little bit of, even though no one was coming to her aid, she was giving as good as she like, just about. Fucking hell, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy to see. I think I've told you guys before that I do have a friend that has kind of gone through this on a train,
yes,
and it's actually going through the courts at the moment. And similarly, nobody came to her defense, with 3 white men just fighting her basically in front of her child. Like, I think it's very scary that this is out there. I was listening to you guys from my phone, and the pushback of somebody in the comments talking about like, what about women? What about men? I hate this all lives matter kind of argument thing. It's exactly the same thing. Sometimes you got to check yourself and be like, am I being the white person in the room? And that the stats, it's not comparable. It's not the same. We are living 2 different existences. Even the keys thing at the moment now, I find like my keys ain't enough, like they're too small. So now I'm adding in a lighter. Like literally, okay, I've got my keys in one hand, I've got my lighter in the other one. If you come, at least I'm gonna burn something on your face so that whatever you've done to me, they know that I tried to fight back. Like, it wasn't, you know, I'm not getting the black woman edit, like actually she attacked me or something. Like, no, it was all self-defense when you're coming for me. Men don't have this feeling, and you guys can't make it up like you do. I come out of stations at 8 o'clock. This is 8 p.m. and it's dark and I'm scared. You guys don't have that. It's not the same. It's not the same experience. And it should be okay for us to talk about it. And you guys sit there and listen and learn something and not center yourselves. That's the problem. You keep on centering yourselves in shit. Like, listen and learn something.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Strength for 11 is, you know, representing the men in the, and I'm not even going to dismiss that, but as Nana said, and as Farrah said, and as I've said, it's not about the whataboutery on this particular topic. It's International Women's Month, by the way. And by the way, there is International Men's Day on November the 19th, so don't try it. Women's insecurities and lack of self-love tunes that turns her head into proper madness, but you still don't fear women. That's my point. And I know there might be an individual, 1 or 2 men that might, oh, I'm scared. When I see a woman, I'm scared. That's that. But on the majority case, women fear men more than men fear women. And that is it. There's no lies, no cap, no nothing. It's what it is. That's it. And speak to the men, because what can women do?
I was going to give an example, right? I remember I was in my car with my daughter, and a man, a taxi driver, smashed into the side of me. And we're like on a busy kind of juncture, just like in Northwest London, the busy kind of juncture. And we both, like, he was trying to drive off. So I was like waving at him, and we drove down one road. This man nearly punched me in my face. When I say that he came so close to me, and it's only because a couple of girls were walking along, and they were like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? This guy was screaming in my face, because I was like to him, I want to get your details. He was screaming in my face. I've got my kid in the car, and he came so close to me. I actually had to go like this, because I thought this man was going to knock me out. That's just one incident. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't. It's just the escalation to violence, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference.
And what's that trigger? What is that thing that you guys see red where it's like, and it's so much like racism, when that anger that white people get when black people stand up for themselves, and then they're like, no.
Okay, hold on. Read Chris's comment, because that's just
what,
dumb.
That's what that. These incidents reflect the majority of most men. Most men don't behave like this. It's clear he had mental issues. Don't women say they're strong and independent, they don't need men to protect? Relax.
Right.
That's I literally
hold on
just
a second.
Go on.
Right. Put it back up. So
right. Sorry, I lost it.
I agree with you that for us to sit with, and I agree with you, and if you had been listening, you would have heard us say, we're not saying all men. We're not saying all men, but we're allowed to fucking talk about the ones that do this shit. We are allowed to sit here and say that these are our experiences, right? And I'm not going to sit here and act like it don't happen, because it happens. Yeah, that's the first part of your line. With your next sentence, don't women say they're strong and independent and don't need men to protect? I don't need a man to protect me. What I need is a man to not fuck with me. That's what I need. Yeah, I need a man to not feel like they can come up and nearly punch me in my face. I need to be able to feel safe, like I can come from the train station and not have a man attack me. I need to be able to feel safe enough to not have to tell my daughter certain things that she's going to have to prepare herself for as a young woman who goes outside. It's not about me feeling like I need a man to protect me. I don't need a man to protect me. I just need them not to fuck with me, Chris.
Exactly
okay,
that.
Thank you.
That's the difference, and that's the lie that you guys have been told. Like, if you get into a situation, I'm looking for someone to like. If you can't manage it by yourself, I might look to a girl that might be taller and a bit more stronger than me. I might look to a man, and there is a conditioning. I'm not even going to deny that. And also, this what about you that don't women say they're strong and independent? What women? How many women? And what does strong and independent mean? Strong. I'm a
Even
strong.
if women are saying that. Go on, finish.
I'm a strong woman because of all the shit I have been through. I am still fucking here. I'm an independent woman by default. I'm independent. I do not depend on anyone but the people that give me money so I can pay my bills. And that's it. That does not mean I do not want a man by my side doing the manly things that I need a man to do with me and for me at the time. But I am a strong and independent woman. Do not conflate the message.
But why does being a strong and independent woman have a negative connotation? Why do you feel like you need to take that personally? Thank you very much, Robert. Thank you very much. Love you so much. Lovely. But why do you feel
amazing, Robert? Thank you.
That needs to, it's not a negative on you. And if you listen to men like Andrew Tate, they make out like if you're a woman and you want to do stuff for yourself, that you hate men. No one hates men. Nana's fucking married. We don't hate men, and she's been married for decades. We don't hate men out here. We're not saying that. We're just saying in order for us to coexist, understand that I'm not your property. Understand that I don't want you to mess with me. I want to feel free and I want to feel safe, just like the majority of you lot do. That's all we're saying.
You know what the thing is, though? I think somebody in the comments actually said it. Men are scared of other men. Now, in the few times I've seen shit taking place on road, I have been the one to jump in. And afterwards, my husband has been like, you cannot do that because you don't know who the hell that man is. And then I have to step in and defend both of us. And that's the problem. Now, we have to address men have a problem. And even the thing of like, even Chris saying like it's mental health. Now, we can say that there's a high percentage of you whose mental health is faulty. Absolutely. And I would agree. It is mental health issues. But there's a lot of you that have it. Now, if you're not prepared to talk about it and then you want to still place this over aggression in women's quarters that somehow we should pacify it, that's not how it works. Similarly to racism, we cannot change who we are as Black people to please white people so they feel comfortable. It's the same shit. It's not the way round it goes. You have to, in your peer groups, with your peers, discuss how they are functioning and why some of them are really aggressive. Why can you not talk to your boy? You know, you all have that one boy that is flipping crazy and you guys keep him at arm's length. Now, and that one has women and he has baby mothers and he has a wife and all man. He's a liability. Like literally, you have to address that. Like, what's going on with you guys' mental health? Patriarchy doesn't work. I think all men need to reject it as well. They need to be like, all right, so we're at the top of this pecking order, but it's killing us as well. The same as white supremacy. There are white people faltering all over the place with their guilt, with their shame. Literally, they are having mental health issues because it doesn't work. It's not favorable for humanity. That's the same as men in what they're doing. Ego gone out. It's extreme and it's dangerous, and we got to talk about it.
We have to. We really, really have to. And it all. Hold on, Chris is saying, "Okay, Chris, you're our strike 22." Chris, ain't you guys contradicting yourself? Why didn't the men on the train jump in and do something? I think you guys made a big point.
No, hold on, wait, stop right there. I said nobody interjected. All of us said nobody. Nobody said why didn't the men.
You're crackling up too much.
Can you hear me at all? Right.
I can hear you.
Didn't say. I didn't say, neither did Nana, neither did Aquia. Why didn't the men jump in? We needed the man to jump in. Not one of us said that. We said nobody interjected. That's what we said. Nobody. Nobody. Yeah, that's what we said. Man, woman, or child. No one interjected.
Yeah, it is crackly, so we've got to fix your microphone. But yeah, exactly.
It is what it is.
Yeah, we're not contradicting ourselves at all. But I also acknowledge there's an expectation that men do protect, because that's how we're all built. We all have conditioning that needs to be undone, and we need to revisit. As Nana said, the patriarchy needs to be ejected, and no one's asking for a matriarchy either. There needs to be, whatever the word is, for men and women to live in their true existence as human beings. Humanity, how about that? Like, just literally live as our true beings in the world, so that everyone's relationship, everyone's dynamic is different, so that you don't get judged. Where I think there people were laughing at Zoe Saldana's husband taking her surname. There were some men laughing about that on a podcast. I'm like, that shouldn't even be something to laugh at. It should be, in my relationship dynamic, this relationship, the woman leads, because, and whatever lead means, the woman takes majority of the typically assigned men's roles. This is in our dynamic, that works. In the next household, my man does the majority of the lion's share. I'm at home with the kids. All these different versions of how families work shouldn't be judged through the lens of patriarchy. That's what needs to change.
There's some societies though where, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
There are some societies where men do take the women's surname. I know a couple of English people actually, and they've taken their wife's surname. It's just whatever works for you, right?
Yeah.
What is why saying? I can't read it properly.
Why? Where's why?
Some men live through other men.
Some men live through other men. They won't hit or violate a woman, but enjoy it when it happens. But then antagonize women when it happens, even their own women. So I guess it's saying they live vicariously through men, because you're watching the violence, and that's in porn, in violent films and stuff like that. Even if you're enjoying that by proxy. Right. Or knowing that, yeah, that my man, because I would never do it because I know how that made me look, but certain man do this, and they're like, yeah, you see men upholding, yeah, that's a real alpha man. He don't take no shit from women, and at least I'm in here listening to my woman nag me, but I couldn't get out of it. But yes, they're like uplifting and admiring a man that's showing them what they think a real man is. That happens the same way as women. Like there's women that you're like, okay, yeah, how you're handling your business in that situation, I want to be like that. It happens. You see the epitome of the stereotype of what a woman is and what a man is, and then sometimes those stereotypes aren't great. They're not great.
Yeah, that is definitely true. You know, and we had Pound Sterling on our show. Why I like his brand of masculinity is the kind of like upright, I'm going to lead community, but also within friendship groups and whoever his woman is. Like there's a brand of masculinity that really isn't toxic in that way. And I think we just need more examples of that, like actually what it is to be a man without, truly being accountable for what you're doing, and not blaming, like, I can't get a woman because the women are all gold diggers. Like that is such shitty behavior. It pisses me off that that's what's grabbing a lot of young people at this moment in time. And there are a lot of men influenced by this doctrine, because they don't want to stand up within themselves to assert themselves. Actually, what do I do, and how do I function, and how can I be productive in society? Whether it's blaming the matrix is coming for you, or women are all gold diggers, it's the same shit. It's like, where's your accountability factor? Who are you? Like, when are you going to stand up in your own right and actually just be a fully functioning human being and not blame other people and be a credit to society?
So there's two things I want to get to, and I want to respond to that. The comments are coming in thick and fast. Thank you for commenting, guys. Thank you for joining in the conversation. This is News and Nonsense at Noon. We love this discussion. And we're talking right now about it's International Women's Month. Yesterday was International Women's Day. International Men's Day is in November 19th, so don't try it. Ezekiel the Mac says, Nana AK Farrah, random question. Who is the head of a household by definition? And then I want to get to BH's BS next. So who, for you guys, who's the head of the household? What does that mean to you?
I don't think that's how it works in a safe and secure relationship. Your head changes because you have two people there who also have their brain faculties, if they should do, both people in there, or sometimes there's more, but you should all be able to work. And sometimes I am at 10% and my husband is at 90. Sometimes we are at 50-50 on things. Sometimes I am at 90 and he is at 10%. It swings and roundabouts. It actually changes. It should ebb and flow like a tide. You should be able to rely on each other and be each other's yin and yang. There is nobody that is ahead of something when you have so many people in the situation. Plus our kids, it's like we both have to bring them up effectively. So I can't always expect my husband to be at peak performance every single day, because what's that doing to his nervous system? Is that me being a good partner to always expect him to be leading? That's not effective partnership. Sometimes he has to rely on me to lead the way, and sometimes I have to rely on him to lead the way. And that, to me, is how partnership should work. And for all the examples I have, that's how it works.
Absolutely. The examples that I've had growing up, that is how, and actually not even just growing up, that are in my life now, like the people that I know that are in successful relationships, it's because they are partners. And as Nana said, it's not like it's 50, this person does 50 and that person does 50. It changes depending on the circumstance. Yeah. And those are successful partnerships where they know that they can rely on each other for different things and that they've always got each other's back. That's the main thing. So it's not about any of them. I wouldn't say that the man in those situations is the leader, or the woman or the head, or the woman in those situations. It's not that. The successful partnerships that I know, they are partnerships.
And you know what? And it's very funny because even when I've got two things to say, when you think about the that stereotype that the man always gets the biggest piece of chicken, but what if the man only likes wings? Do you know what I mean? Does that then mean he's not a man? Does that undermine his masculinity? And the other thing, me being a woman raising a daughter by herself in her home, my daughter lives with me, and even that dynamic, there was a time when there was no choice, but I'm the head of the family. I'm the leader, and it's by title alone, by living alone, by raising her, making sure she survives alone. Now she's not catching up to my equal at all, but she's becoming a woman, and now she's going to be 25 soon, and our partnership dynamics is shifting, and it's something that's very interesting to explore when you're a parent as well, because I'm so used to what I say goes. But this young woman is working. She's been in a relationship. She's had my daughter's had a longer relationship than I've ever had in my life. And that is, so now she's an expert on something that I'm not. She might be able to teach me a few things about relationships. I actually learned a few things watching them two in their relationship, and not in like just understanding how relationships shift and in the dynamic, because I've not had that for myself. So when now my authority over her, though out of respect and tradition, I'm her mother, we are living slightly in a coexisting partnership. She might get the shopping. She went to Costco the other day. She paid for the shopping. She pays she contributes to our existence in this dynamic. So then this is the thing, like the leadership doesn't work. Head of the family starts to dissipate when you look at two human beings trying to move together and keep a family unit going. The difference is,
but
again,
also, I think the mark of a really good leader also isn't to be like, I'm the one leading, is to know when you need to work with other people and they may lead. Like somebody, I think it may have been Chris, was like, so who's the CEO? A good CEO actually will rely on their COO and their CFO and all of the other heads of department. Exactly. If you really want your business to work, that's a title. You are running something here, but you need to rely on the other people to be running their shit as well. And it's a partnership. When you think you're leading shit and you got to tell people, I am the leader, you've lost. Absolutely. You've failed. It's not going to work. You will drown. As soon as somebody else comes along and is like, I'm not being respected, valued, my worth is not, it doesn't work. It's not how it goes. And if that's how you're trying to run your household, good luck to you. But I tell you, your nervous system is shot, and everybody else is in your houses as well, because it isn't in flow. Sometimes you have to be able to be like, I'm not up to it today. I'm not up to it this week. I'm ill this month, and let somebody else take care of you and steer the ship.
Yeah, I think you try and you're trying it. Find a CEO. There's a who runs a. It doesn't. As Nana said, demonstrate in a relationship that works. My deadbeat uncle tried that with the biggest piece of meat comment. I asked who bought the chicken, who cooked the chicken, who built the house. I told him my grandmother is the man of the house. When you that's pussy. It's like when you get into these silly tropes they're so easily blown away, like with straw man arguments, as it were. It becomes a straw man argument. And they're just easily blown away. It's working in synergy to who you are, because then head of the household, man of the household. When you have a LGBTQ relationship where there's two of the same, then what does that mean? It doesn't work.
And synergy and respect.
Yeah,
that's it. That is those are the building blocks. Yeah. Absolutely, that's all it is. And to know that I can trust my partner to make this decision, and I can trust my own brain to make this decision, and you flow like that.
Yeah. I wanted to, well, speaking of, since we're talking about parenting, let's go into that. It still applies to this conversation, but we can go be there forever. There's a conversation about middle-class parenting is hurting working class families. I couldn't find a video for this, but and it ties in also with doctors calling for a total smacking ban in England. So the first bit I'm talking about is middle class parenting that's hurting.
Call for that every year.
Well, yeah. Apparently it's happening again now. So Catherine, oh no, that's the wrong thing. Catherine Birbal Singh, Britain's strictest head teacher, has criticised modern parenting advice, arguing that middle-class approaches are damaging child rearing in working-class families. The Michaela Community School head says parents should assert authority, stop giving children choices over food and clothes, and focus on discipline. She also lamented the lack of traditional parenting books that encourage firm guidance and criticised parents who fail to teach basic literacy and numeracy. She warned that today's culture makes parents feel powerless over their children, urging a return to clear boundaries and strong leadership at home. And I'm going to play this about banning smacking in the UK. That ties into kind of what this woman is rebelling against slightly. She didn't mention smacking and stuff, but this is part of the conversation.
Smacking children in England. They say physical punishment undoubtedly harms children's health. Well, our health correspondent, Catherine Jones, is here. And just run us through, because there are different rules, aren't there, depending where you live in the UK.
That's right, Danny. Scotland, in fact, became the first UK nation to outlaw smacking children in 2020, and Wales outlawed it in 2022. Now, in England and Northern Ireland, it is also unlawful for a parent or carer to hit a child. But if they do, they can use a legal defence that it was done as reasonable punishment. Should that defence option be scrapped? It's certainly an issue that prompts differing opinions.
I'm a child psychologist, so should have been banned ages ago, and it's a real shame England has left it.
A little pat on the hand when they're not being good. I don't see anything wrong with that.
I don't agree with smacking anyway. You know, you can discipline your kids without smacking them. So
you'd approve of a ban?
Oh, definitely.
The government kind of getting in hand of family life. I'm not too sure how much I would agree with that, honestly.
Mum used to hit me, not badly, but my father only had to look at me. It was the authority, wasn't it? So I suppose if he can achieve that authority without smacking,
much better for all.
Much better for everyone.
Catherine, these calls for bans seem to come pretty frequently. And why is it on the agenda again?
Well, remember the case of Farrah Sharif, who was murdered by her father and stepmother after months of beatings. In response to that, there is new legislation going through Parliament. It's called the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill, and its main aim is to stop children who are being abused from falling through the cracks between social services, schools and police. But now a Labour MP is trying to add an amendment that would also get rid of this grey area of what is reasonable punishment and what is assault.
Farrah Sharif, for example, her father said that all he was doing was, was disciplining her, as was his right. Actually, we do think that introducing this law wouldn't necessarily prevent what happened to Farrah Sharif, but it would give professionals a much stronger boundary of when they can intervene.
Even though
Sorry.
57 countries around the world have already banned smacking children, and 20 more are planning to. The government says it has no plans to change the law in England. But with a debate on this amendment in the Commons due the week after next, supporters of a smacking ban are hoping this idea gains some momentum.
So, based on what the other lady said about middle-class parenting rules are affecting working-class families and the smacking ban.
I hadn't put the two together actually. I had thought about the middle class kind of parenting being this kind of growing movement of gentle parenting. I guess maybe that does work hand in hand. Yeah. But gentle parenting, I think, is definitely. I don't think it works. I think it can work for some kids, but not all children. And that whole gentle parenting and really talking to your children and being like a helicopter parent as well just makes really shitty human beings who don't know how to have accountability, and they're always expecting somebody else to pamper them. I mean, you see too many kids that are like that now. But I don't think smacking stops that happening, because some people can smack their kids and still be a helicopter parent, and you still get that same human at the end of it that can't stand up on their own 2 feet and always looks to somebody else to bail them out or keep them feeling secure in all walks of life, relationships, everything. They always think somebody else is the person that needs to pour into them so that they can feel. And that's a problem. But smacking in itself, I think I don't use it as a tool. Maybe when they were little, to stop them from playing with plugs and stuff like that, like a smack on the hand. But I was never beaten. So for me, it was like, if I saw somebody being beaten, I was generally terrified. And I did see it a couple of times with a few friends in front of me, and I was super scared because it just wasn't modeled in my house. So I never, it wasn't a thing. You're not going to come downstairs and you're going to get a belt taken to you. I've wanted to with some of the shit that they've pulled, but that would just be for me to get my aggression out. I know they're not learning from it, and they're going to be scarred, and that's going to be a core memory. They have enough of those as it is. Like, I don't need to add to it. So smacking I wouldn't mind if it's bad. It's like, okay, do it. Can you police it though? If you're going to ban it, can you police this? Do you have the things in place to actually really be effective if there's households where they are beating their kids? Can you help?
So I was a child who was beat. It's just, and so were my family members. You know, it's just we used to get licks. That's it. We used to get licks. But the reason why I haven't necessarily done that to my child is because I do think that within that, as a human, you can be frustrated and you'll take out your frustrations on the child. And it could just be for something simple, and then it's escalated to something very different. And that's not to say, I'm not going to sit here and say I was abused, because I wasn't abused. I did get licks. And I would get licks. Like every person in our family felt that they could give you licks. It just wasn't, it was what it was. I use more of a verbal type of discipline for my daughter. I think the fear, I think what it is she understands that there's a possibility that something could happen, but the number of times I've done it is very minimal, because I don't think it achieves anything. I remember when I got to say, like, just before I moved out, I was 17 when I moved out, and I remember when I got to that age, I was like, you can beat me, because what's going to happen? You're going to beat me, it's going to be done in a bit, and then that's it. And it's not to say I was a bad kid, but you get to the point where the actual licks don't do anything anymore. What would affect me more at that time is if I was like grounded, or if I wasn't allowed to use the phone or watch the TV, something like that. That is something I actually want to do and enjoy. That had more of an effect on me than if you're going to beat me. Smacking, I think it depends what someone sees as a smack, because someone could see smacking as a continuous thing, or someone could see smacking as just like one smack on the hand, or one smack on the leg, or whatever it is. It depends what people really actually view as smacking. Banning it, I understand why they want to do it, because there are people out there that will take the piss out of anything like that. And if you're someone who who is more on the extreme side of like, I'm gonna get a slipper and I'm gonna smack you on your bum multiple times and I'm gonna leave you bruised and wounded, then those people, there definitely needs to be some laws in place for that. But as you said, Nana, if you're a little baby and you've gone by a plug and you say, don't do that, I don't know if that should be seen in the same sort of way. I just think, for me personally, beating doesn't work, and it's more about having a line of communication with your kid. I'm not about soft parenting either, because I remember when I was growing up, the kids that I grew up with who were able to do whatever they wanted to do and was able to chat to their parents however they wanted to chat to their parents, just like you said, you'd go to someone's house and you see someone getting beaten, you'd be shocked. I'd go to someone's house and I see them saying to them, fuck off, man, what are you doing? And I'd be like, what is going on? What kind of Twilight Zone have I come into? So there needs to be like a balance. Parents do need to understand that your child is not your property. You're raising them to be an independent individual, and hopefully you're giving them the tools to be a nice one and a decent human, but that doesn't give you the right to beat them because you're frustrated. Long-winded way of saying that.
I definitely think all the things that you guys said I pretty much agree with. When I was growing up, everyone thought I'd be the strictest parent. I don't know what it was, but probably maybe echoes of my mum. Mum was strict. I got beats and then it just stopped, and then I got the lecture. Oh my god, and the lectures killed me more than the beats, because coming in from raving at 6, 7, 8 a.m, sometimes 1 p.m, and I'm probably a little bit lean, and mum's at the end of my bed talking and talking and talking and talking. That killed me more than getting beat. Trust me on that. But it worked because it stuck in my head. So whenever I want to do something really bad, I'd be like, I hear my mum's voice of doom in my head. So that kind of worked. When it comes to parenting, so people always said that you're going to be really strict, you're probably going to beat your child, And when I had my bundle of joy, my angel baby, it was impossible for me to do that. But I understood, but there's a balance. I come up from an old school generation, but then I come into this modern age where I understand where I was lacking, where I couldn't speak to my mum about things that bothered me, where I didn't have that relationship with my mum, where I felt comfortable enough to say, Mum, why don't boys like me? Because I know she'd be like, well, get your books, it's more important. Where my daughter can say, why don't boys like me? We can have a conversation about that and the importance of being accepted socially as well as your academics. And so that's where that becomes that, you can't just sit down and have conversations with your friends. You're not your kids' best friends. I think someone said it, that parents today want to be their kids' best friends and want to be on the same level with them, and the authority is gone. But that, like I spoke about before, the natural evolution of my daughter's relationship meant I put my foot down, but I also understood that my authoritarian perspective didn't need to come with violence and shutting out her voice. So we need to find the balance. And yes, it is always a stereotype that the white family, because I went to school in Wimbledon, as I always talk about, because it's so significant to who I am. And I had white best friends, middle class, upper class, rich best friends, who had a bit of more of a discussion at the table, where I wasn't coming home to have no discussions at table. Mum was at work and I was by myself. So I didn't have that. But that kind of thing that I'll use the stereotype that white children have, where there's a room to explore who they are, whether it the extreme of telling their parents to fuck off, which is a bit much, but or just having a voice at the table, I think is important. And I learned not from them, but I learned that from even watching the Cosby Show, the way that they talk to the children and let them have their voice while still being authority figures and giving the children like that boundary where you don't cross that line, but there's room to express yourself. That's important parenting. And I think it's a mix. So I do think the extreme of middle class parenting as a stereotype is a problem, but also to the other extreme where and I don't think it's verse, because I know there's middle class and upper class families that bust up their kids and abuse their kids. So let's not just say it's a working class thing.
Yeah.
That's a big stereotype. Because sometimes in the working class environment, when you're all mucking in together, there is already that automatic dynamic. Well, look, kids got to look after the kids. Mum's got to go to work. Dad's got to go to work. So then actually the dynamics are a bit more equal than in a family where everybody's rich and blah, 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 blah. I don't agree with that.
I hear what Y is saying, like in terms of like the American system where the kids can have rights where they can, in effect, divorce their parents. I mean, we definitely don't want that type of shit happening over here. Yeah. But I think it is, as you said, it is a balance. It's a balancing act. It can't be too draconian, because also then, depending on the child, they can also lose their agency and their authority and be super compliant. I think you need a little bit of both. You need a little bit of a rebellion in your kids, but then they also need to know about discipline.
Yeah,
and as long as you're towing that line, and boundaries, exactly. As long as they're towing that line where they step out a little bit and then you can rein them in, I think you'll get a good human being. But if you're always, there's just that level of parenting now where people are always giving their kids excuses. It's their anxiety. And you're just mopping up after the child. They are shitty humans when they get older. They're just annoying to everybody. They're a burden on society when you go. I do think that they really do need to have parented classes. Truly, I think we absolutely need parenting.
It's the one thing that you don't need a lesson for, isn't it?
You need to teach people. And living in Newham,
the biggest job is that you can have.
That's it, and then you're able to do it free flow. I see so many, and especially I would love to know if Asian people are talking about this, but their parenting styles is so weird to me. It's like the kids are allowed to run across roads, and it's so prevalent in Newham. It's like everybody is talking about it, but it's not being spoken about.
South
what's
Asian or
going
East
on?
Asian? Clarify.
South Asian. For the Americans in the house, I know there's a difference there, but I'm talking about South Asians specifically. If you know Newham, you know that it's predominantly Bangladeshi and Pakistani people around here, but their parenting is so different. It's like, what's going on? What are the humans that they're going to grow into? Because they just seem to be quite, especially when it's a boy, very loose and feral. Like there's no discipline. Like the mum has no agency after her kids. Is really weird to watch. I wonder in years to come, this market now, this will be a discussion that we're having about young Asian boys raised in London or probably around the place who they have grown up into, because the parenting is different. It's like the mum can't say anything. Very strange.
I do think it's important to, if we're going back to boundaries and discipline, I do think it's important to give your child that, and to also give them a voice too. It's not like me and my daughter have deep conversations if stuff happens, but at the end of the day, like I'll give you an example. We've just got into her secondary school. We had conversations about where she wanted to go. I had conversations of course about where she wanted to go. Like at the end of the day, I had to listen. I had to take on board the things that she was saying, but ultimately, I have to find the right place that I think is going to work for her, because I am the parent looking at a bigger scale of things than she's looking at. But her input was valued. And I think if you start having these kind of conversations now and you teach your child to question things and to be able to voice their opinion about things, it does help in later life when they're outside in the real world and they understand or they don't agree with things that are happening. I think that's very important, rather than to shelter them from every single thing. And that's just things in the house as well, like learning how there's adultification and there's teaching your child how to do things in the house, right? So I think it's important to teach your child just things like tidying your room and what that does for your mental. If you're in a clean space, what that does for your mental. How, exploring ways of that you can teach them how to cook, not saying that they must cook, but you're teaching them all these valuable life skills, because that's what parenting is supposed to be, isn't it? You're supposed to teach your kids life skills so that when they are outside, they're able to function. So I think those things are important, and it is about boundaries and balance more than so. And discipline is part of that, because you do have to have some discipline outside in the world. You can't go around just doing whatever the fuck you want to do. Otherwise, you're going to end up in jail. So you do have to have some kind of discipline.
And I have to say, I must say that I love the way that, Farrah's daughter, for you those who don't know, is my goddaughter. So I think it's my responsibility. I think I take the credit for her amazingness. But I love the way that your daughter's voice is so heard and so strong and so independent of, and she's so informed. And it's interesting because my daughter's 25, so there's a big vast difference between Egypt and Amma. And Amma's got a bit more of my reservations, like as in she's a bit more reserved in speaking up. But now when you speak to her, you can have a very full-blown, and from a very young age, she's very informed, very intelligent, and she can hold a conversation with an adult, same way your child is. And I think I love that evolution of Black child, because we definitely come, I think Sister said something about us being children of immigrants, us first generation children of immigrants. And then we've got the backstory of those who were enslaved and colonized, where as we've moved around the West and the way that racism and white supremacy treats us, we then dull our shine. We keep ourselves small. Our parents do overprotective parenting so that we don't get arrested, killed, judged. So when you see a black child running up and you're like, not my child, but then you see a white child, you're like, well, that's just them. But that freedom sometimes is like, what if the black child is allowed to run and make noise and throw themselves on the floor? It's not our style, it's not our way. But when you do have a child doing that, they're also, what does that freedom afford them? If we want to break ourselves in the shackles of that stereotype, that brainwash, that we can't be like that because we're going to get killed. If we take away that power of white people being able to do anything they want with us, it starts from letting our child roll on the floor, unfortunately. And I'm not saying that we do away, because my child's never gonna, my grandchildren, my grandbabies are not rolling over any floor in Marks and Spencer because they want sweets. Not gonna happen.
I'll walk away from them anyway. If you do that, I'm walking away. You're gonna be rolling around on the floor by yourself because I'm not there.
But even that alone, because even you saying that, because even that alone is a different way where another black parent would be like, is it tump up, fix up, shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Whereas you saying, I'm gonna walk away, and then the child gets to, this isn't working, come to their own recognition of like, this is not gonna work. Let me just go and follow my mum or my grandma or whoever, my dad, and fix up. And then that's a different way of parenting, and that's now an evolution of how corporal punishment is not always the law.
Yes,
definitely. It's trying to do a little bit of both, like letting them have a bit of free reign, but also knowing that we are in this society as well. And I think we can't neglect everything because you have to keep your kids safe.
Yes.
And it's not quite safe yet. So yes, it's like I still will watch a white child have that like real abandonment in a place and be like, yeah, we're just not there yet, because especially as my sons were getting bigger and they're no longer cute, they are watched in a very different way. And it's like, as much as I would want you to have that freedom, absolutely not, because the shopkeeper has watched you grow up, but you've still been watched by that shopkeeper now. When you go in, he's watched you guys be little kids and be like, oh, they're so cute, and offer you stuff. But now when you go into the shop, he still has that mindset of, you're no longer those two little cute black boys that I used to like. Now you're two teenage black boys that I gotta watch over. So it's just being mindful. Like you want to have that youthful abandonment, but also we're in a world where racism is rife. It's just taking on different propositions in itself. I just thought of one really good punishment my mum gave me, if anybody wants to use it. I went raving and I wasn't supposed to, and I came in and she was like, you can't go to sleep, you have to weed the garden. And I was out in the sun doing the garden, and I never lied about raving again. Like literally, it was like, it's not worth it. I was so tired. I had the ringing in my ear. I had people passing me while I was in my little sequin dress gardening, being like, why the hell are you doing that? And I had to explain to them, I went out, this is my punishment. Long. It's the best punishment she ever did. To me.
Oh, I love that. See, those are the sorts of things that I know that I'm going to do to my kids.
Yes, literally. I mean, thankfully, Emma didn't ever, she didn't really do that. So I was cool, but that's the thing. And me not speaking to Emma and ignoring her kills her. So I just want to go to Cotadol. Cotadol. Guys, you're messing with my. I don't think mothers are supposed to hit male sons. Now, this is an interesting conversation that leads back into everything we were talking about: head of the family, women and men, blah 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 blah. But there's an interesting thing, because we're talking about the through line of why men hate women, and there's a lot of conversation. I've seen conversation, let me say, about men who boys who were raised by mothers who were, let's just quote, angry mothers, right? Who were single mothers. And I don't want to make excuses, but these are the things that I'm going to assume contribute to them being angry mothers. Single mothers, probably not getting support, having their own trauma, being left to raise a male in the house, maybe fearing their son, what their son might become, maybe fearing the outside world, maybe fearing what happens in the home. Maybe the son looks like their ex that they're upset about, or whatever reason, all these things. So that conversation about a woman shouldn't hit their male son. What do you lot think?
Okay. I definitely see the discourse quite a lot with men saying like, you know, my mum was my first abuser, but that's the same as women saying that as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can be as specific as a woman shouldn't hit her son. I don't know. I'm really on the side of like nobody should be hitting anybody. Like, I think I'm way more that way inclined. And
well, listen, what Wyatt is saying, my mum hit me. That's how I knew what women are capable of, which is an interesting perspective.
But what about the daughters? Because I don't know. Maybe I've got to sit on this a little bit more.
I think let's unpack that. If someone's saying it, it's something to respond to. So my mum hit me. That's how I knew what women are capable of. So if you're a single mother, let's talk about a single mother without their father's input, raising a son, and we're talking about generally we don't like the idea of parents hitting kids, but your son is wayward and wild. Not wild in a kid way, like a bit boisterous, as boys are allowed to be, should be. So he went to do something and you smacked him. There's beating. We're just talking about smacking. We're not talking about beating and abusing. We're talking about smacking to warn them off doing things that could be a danger to themselves. A woman shouldn't do that?
No, I think it's more than that. Even as Chris said, my mum dropped more harder licks than my dad. I've heard that so often.
Me too.
But I don't know. Maybe this is my bias though in it. I don't know if it's a blanket statement of women shouldn't hit their sons, but I definitely think there is a discussion into why you're hitting and what frustrations are you alleviating. I think that's what it is, than it being like really specific to mums and their sons, because I do think that we don't talk about bad mothers enough at all. We do not talk about that. And it's still, because sometimes there is that rhetoric of, but the mum stayed though. Like, how are you going against the person that stayed? And it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, they stayed, but they may have been an absolutely shitty parent at the same time.
Exactly.
Like, that doesn't take away from that they were under pressure, stressed, and they took it out on their kids.
Yeah,
that happens quite a lot. And yeah, that's shitty parenting, but I don't know if it should be framed in that context, because there are a lot of women who got it from their mums and are traumatized by it, but there isn't any room to actually really talk about it effectively, because it's always, but that's your mother and you must love her. So I can only imagine that goes for both, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know about this framing.
I struggle with the gender specifics of it all, because I've seen families, I've been in family where it's not just the woman who hits the child, it's the man as well. I've seen families where, like someone in the comments said, they got it more from their mum than they did for their dad. And then I've seen the opposite of that as well. I think if we're going down the road of who should hit who, maybe we just don't hit each other. Maybe it's that, rather than it's just women shouldn't hit men, or women shouldn't hit their sons, but they're okay to hit their daughters, and then the dads should only hit their sons, but they're not okay to hit their daughters. Maybe no one should be hitting anybody. Let's do that, because I think there's a lot of people who are traumatized from being hit by men growing up in the family, you know. And that can lead to just having major insecurities within yourself and trust issues as well. So it's not just, I don't know about the gender specifics of it all.
I don't think so. I agree with you guys. And the only thing I could think of is that if it becomes a problem for men as they grow up because their mum beat them, is that also, again, doing away with the patriarchal stereotypes of what a man should be. If a boy starts to grow up feeling some type of way, like my mum is hitting me and that's a woman, then you go and say, I'm not going to let any woman, because men aren't supposed to be under the thumb of a woman. That's just, again, from the patriarchy stereotypes and brainwashing. So that's why that could potentially be an issue when it comes to genders. Other than that, I agree with everything you guys are saying. Any comments that we want to go to before? Yeah, look at Precious's mum. I mean, everyone's got a story. You know, I was raised, my dad was a softie because he wasn't there.
And there's that as well, where, you know, if you look at single parents, if we're just looking at that, it's easy for the dad to come along and be Fun Time Friday, because you're not there.
Yeah.
You ain't got to
So
That is true.
It's true.
That is so true. You're and you generally are getting the best version of the child, because it's also like you're not getting the everyday, you're not getting the rudeness. But I definitely think there's a real discussion to be had on parenting and mothers and frustrations and how they have taken it out on their kids. Definitely, it's a lot.
Then maybe because I was going to go to something lighter, but we are in that space.
Go to something lighter.
All right, let's go to something like. Well, this is something fun. It's just a weird one. This is about white men. It's very silly. There's Melamine's brother, Mikkel. He's quite he's very.
We've actually got a couple of questions that just came in the last minute.
Do the questions.
Okay, Chris says, do you guys think the Black community discipline come from slavery? I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
To answer that question. But
I think everyone. Go on.
Go on. I was going to say, I don't know if it comes from slavery, because not all Africans were enslaved. So I don't know if that's true.
I think
it might come from. Go on.
I was going to say similarly that we can't do the whole world over, but we can maybe see that some behaviors have been learned because of the enslavement. But I do think, do you know what comes from slavery? It comes from racism, rather I'd say, and white supremacy, and how we are. That's what we said before. How we're viewed under the lens of white people that run the world. That is when our discipline kicks into control. Plus trauma, and plus what happens as a result of the broken society in general. Then violence happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you're taught to view each other, whether you've been enslaved or not.
Yeah.
I think Destiny Love just hit the nail on the head. It is slavery and colonization. I know from my family, the thing of punishments is definitely a colonial legacy, because a lot of them were removed from their families and placed into boarding schools where corporal punishment was just a standard. And so even just having normal parent-kid relationships, there's a few generations that didn't have that. Like they didn't know their parents like that, and they had more affinities with their nuns or teachers who would beat them severely as well. And so then it kind of gets passed down until they came here, and then a lot of people, it's like you learn the hard ways. You're like beating your kids severely, and then it's teachers that are being like, you're not allowed to do that here in this country, and then you got to relearn how that is, or to keep their kids with them. I would think it's similar to slavery as well. It's the same practices. It's the same masters. They were just in different locations, basically. Yes. But yeah, I think it is. And the way that we can see damage done to Black bodies all the time as normal, fighting, beating, like, the images come to us. It's like, they don't go anywhere. As I said last week, DNA is data. It's in us. So yes, there's the legacy of that. And then we have to untrain ourselves to see each other as loving people who deserve to be loved. And then that will change eventually, hopefully.
Alex George is asking questions to the girls. Do you believe white households have these same conversations about hitting their children? Yeah, simply. I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Maybe there's depending on the different factions. I know definitely my middle class friends are way more like it's absolutely disgusting. But maybe that's an evolving of their parents having conversations. Who knows? I don't know. But they definitely are into this time out, sit down, all of that type of shit, which can work.
It depends where they're from as well. It depends. Like you've got to break that down. So you've got the English white people who may think differently to the Irish white people.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
It depends where they're from.
And things
Absolutely.
take because I think it's a stereotype. Because I've seen box your ears. That's a working class Cockney thing. Like you're going to get your ears boxed, not to talk people's business, but my people downstairs, they used to fight, and that's a white family. There used to be a lot of furniture moving around in that household. So, you know what I mean? in a way that's different from what I've ever experienced. So it's not
super nanny. Super Nanny
Yeah.
contributed to this stuff as well. Like she did contribute to it, all of her different ways, and loads of the different books as well. Like you go to NCT classes, and the books that are shared amongst the middle classes in there are all on gentle parenting. When I had my boys, that was like the newest thing. Like there's this new craze, and yeah, it took over. It was like everybody was like, oh, this is the perfect way to do it. I just think we need parenting classes.
I think Alex George says most white people I've talked to don't even understand the idea of being hit when they were a kid. And again, I think it's different dynamics, and there's a different. We do know that Black parenting has been. We do have a prevalence of hitting our kids because, again, of the things that we come from a different world and different experience to most white folks. But I do think
it's definitely class. It's definitely class. Because I've grown up with some white people who got hit.
Yeah,
you know,
an area. It's area location, and what people talk about to the front, like what they're going to bring to the table. Because maybe for us, and definitely Black people, we talk about the way we laugh through our pain. We talk about beating as a standard, where white people it's not accepted in the same way and seem maybe more shameful.
I think it's the levels as well. It's the levels, isn't it? Like a Black person, you're more likely to have been beat, like of a certain generation. Let's say that you're more likely to have been beat with a belt than a white person. Then a white person may not have been beat with a belt. Like, you know,
that's interesting. I wonder. It's harsh, isn't it? Probably more white working class people would probably have very similar stories to Black families. Like, I think they would. It would be like, I got beat with. I got the slipper thrown at me, and all manner of. I think that would be the thing. But then, if you think of our kids sitting around and having a discussion, the child that had been like properly beat with a belt, I think they will be few and far between. Then our generation have a discussion. I was always the only one that would be like, no, I never got hit. Like there was very few people that I've been around in my age group to be like, no, I wasn't touched. And I'm the youngest as well. So obviously my parents were older. They had done their stuff. It's a different time where my siblings can't say the same. They definitely were beaten. It was just I was the youngest, and I had older parents who were
even my brothers. Even my brothers, they're like 12 and 13 years younger than me. They definitely never got no licks. Sometimes I side-eye my mum and my stepdad because I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
See you.
Pussy's saying, I grew up in a white household in a white neighborhood in South Africa. DV was rampant in the community, but also was conceal it and cover up. No one spoke out, but the whites about it. And George is saying white people up north defo spoke about getting beats too. And I have that, and I don't want to play into stereotypes, but you assume up in North, Manchester, up the north and all those places, you're going to get boxed. And it's liberalism as well. Certain liberal families, and we're a lot more conservative regardless of race than we like to think. So there's a liberal, really, we're going to debate at the table and you're going to stand and, you're
just
going to
let them be free to express themselves and they can say, she feels like telling me, mummy, fuck off, then that's what she does at the moment.
Imagine Karens. This is what breeds Karens who go out in the street and scream unless they're at home because they can't express themselves in the home. Let's talk about why we have white Karens ruining shit, because you can't speak to your husband and you can't control your damn kids because you let them run rampant, and you go outside, you take it out on a Black person or anyone minding their damn business and want to speak to the manager because you can't speak to your manager at home. That's the problem. Let me play this because it is International Women's Month, and this is something for the ladies. Ladies, I don't believe you're being very good at being ladies. Here you go.
Get my pencil. What you don't do, ladies, is walk to the front of the item and squat to pick it up.
No.
It's in front of you. Naturally, your legs will open to give you clearance to pick it up. Is that appropriate for a lady? No. Absolutely not. So we don't squat. We don't walk in front of the item. Nor do you go to the front of the item and bend over. Woo! Too much exposure back there. Woo! We don't want to expose our rear end, show it like that. Nor, if you're wearing a shirt and pants, your shirt will go up, your pants goes down a little. and then you're exposing yourself. That's not appropriate for a lady. So the proper way a lady picks something up is to walk to the side of the item. Lock your feet, lock your knees. It's important to lock your knees because when you go down, your knees support each other. If you're wearing a dress, hold the hem of your dress because when you go down, your dress will rise. So you hold the hem of your dress, you go down gracefully, pick it up, and you're out. That's how a lady picks something up. Capiche?
Okay, where
Capiche?
is this out in
Capiche?
public?
Hello, capiche?
I've always needed lessons in what is this called? Because I don't even know the word of it. What's it called when you are
etiquette?
I've always needed etiquette lessons. I remember at one thing in school, there's a whole load of girls that really got into this etiquette shit. And I was thoroughly a tomboy, so I never paid attention. If I'm gonna pick something up, I'm not standing beside it. I'm kneeling over. That's just me.
Listen,
my
bum's
out, whatever. I'm not doing all of that. I try and be graceful sometimes, but it's so rare, and I don't care. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe this is a younger woman's sport.
I've got more for you guys because you guys are uncouth and I find it embarrassing when I'm out with you. This lady is telling you also how to sit, stand, and bend down like a lady.
The best thing when you come into a restaurant, there's always a maitre d' that is there, and you tell him, I'm joining my party, regardless of whether I can see Ula or I can see Christina.
Oh
and
God,
then he will now walk you over to the table, or you can walk yourself. Number one etiquette when you come into a restaurant to eat. You don't walk into the restaurant and say, Christina, I am here. I'm here. Excuse me. Yes, Christina, how are you? Is it chair-free? Thank you. And you drag that one now to join the... No. Darling, that is not fabulous. I have seen it. I have seen it at a restaurant. Not at all. You wait to find out if it is okay for you to proceed, because you don't know the protocol of the restaurant and you want to be perceived as somebody who knows what to do when you're at the restaurant. You'll be surprised at how they will come to you from the kitchen. They'll give you extra desserts. They give you extra treats. If it's your birthday, they'll give you a shout out. It is truly the way that you behave. Now, once you get to the table, it's time for you to sit. Yeah? And this is why I also chose a dress such as this, because it's a little bit over the knee, but it does not matter. What you have to understand is that when you do sit down, you have to take your hand and smooth yourself behind. Smooth yourself over, because you don't want to wrinkle your dress. That's the point, really. You don't
I do that.
your dress.
Yeah, I do that.
I don't want you to come and start slamming your bum to pinch out your panties. No. You can do that in the powder room.
I've also done that too.
Smooth out your bottom like so, and then you sit. But you don't sit at the whole table. Why for me?
Why?
Because then you become relaxed, and it is a funny thing. Just try it.
Let me stop.
The second you sit back, your legs will open up, and this is what you will look like. Because you sat all the way back. You have no posture. So you just sit back. Yeah. Over time, after you've eaten your food and you're a little bit relaxed and you've had 1 or 2 glasses of wine. So what you should do is that you should sit like so. Sit down like so. Half of the chair. Enough for you to be able to put your bag and your phone on your lap. Oh yeah. Why?
Okay, guys. I mean,
That is the first one though. No, she what she's saying, I get it. Like I do that shit. Like if I'm out and I've got a dress, you do that because you don't want to wrinkle your shit. I get that.
Yeah.
Even like
move it
when
out.
she's talking about don't go into a restaurant and be like, yo, my girl. Like I get it.
I do. We all do that. Hi guys. Like
no, but we do that when we get to our table when we can see our people. We just, you're not gonna be like, you're not gonna come through the restaurant door and start bellowing at people. You're gonna look for your party, aren't you? or you're going to say
I never wait. I don't wait though. I don't wait for anybody. If I can see you guys, I'm bopping to your table because more often than not, I'm late. So I'm not going to now wait for bro to walk me or whatever. I'm not going to do that. I definitely do sit with my legs closed, but somebody amongst the panel does not do that.
I don't. I can't. I find it physically impossible to sit with my legs closed. I find it stressful.
Your legs closed on the pod.
No, it's open. I don't. You know what? That one rule. I don't know why. It's because I was always a tomboy. So I was always. I think when I was younger as well, I used to always kind of be a little bit.
All three of us in the room were tomboys, but all three of us were.
No, I'm just saying this is my tomboy. We've got different versions of tomboys. My version was like for some reason having my legs crossed and sitting demurely like a lady. I can't do it. I try, and when I catch myself, obviously if I've got a skirt, I try my best. I have to actually physically turn my body to the side to stop my legs being akimbo. It is what it is. I can't help it. It's literally now a physical thing. I'm in my 40s. I'm just literally not going to do it. I try. I'm crossing my legs over because I always remember them saying crossing, and this might have been a factor. Crossing your legs gives you varicose veins, and varicose veins in the family.
Sanchez said AK's thighs are too thick to cross.
Thank you, David. I'm watching people. Listen, my thighs are the equivalent of man saying they can't close their leg with their big dick. I got big thighs.
Proverbs done it again. Look.
Bless you, Proverbs, man. Honestly, thank you so much.
Bless
This
you.
truly means a lot. That is 15 gifted membership plans in one. Thank you.
Why? Do you know why? Why take a rest? Because they're saying this is why men devalue some women.
Why are you in the chat? Why?
I don't even. Is there etiquette for men? Do men have like etiquette class? Like, is there an equivalent?
Bear with me.
Because it's like we've got to do a lot. You know, we have
the one thing I'm not doing
every month. Like, it's a lot.
Do you know what I'm saying? The one thing I'm not doing is going to the side of something I need to pick up. That's not happening. I'm not doing that.
No.
I'm not showing, like, I'm not going to bend over. Like, if I've got a skirt on or shorts, I'm not going to bend over so you can see all my nash. I'm not going to do that either. But, but I probably will squat.
Yeah, I would do, but I'm not going beside it. But I would do the squat thing. But at my age now, if there's a younger in a room, they get it for you. Like,
100%.
I'm not trying to bend down because I may not get back up again. Sometimes my back seizes up.
Right? I can drop something and I'm like, Egypt, can you pick this up, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, if we're in the shop and something falls down, she's picking it up, not me. I'm not even trying to think about picking it up.
Nah,
For the men,
none of that stuff.
Apparently, I've just found this video. I've just found it, so who knows?
Okay.
Ever caught
This
yourself
is the male
wondering,
equivalent.
could I be more refined? Well, who hasn't? Not to worry, though. Stick around, because I'm about to share some insights that will elevate your presence wherever you go. Let's explore all the things that elegant men never do in public. If you have one or more of these habits, you can enhance your style and sophistication by moving away from these dysfunctional behaviors. So, if you're ready to add a touch of class to your public persona, this is the video that you don't want to miss.
I need to see a black man
Let's get started.
now.
I know.
Here are 10 things that elegant men never do in public.
Let me find.
Starting with number 1, never ignore dining etiquette.
Right.
An elegant gentleman never rushes through a meal. This means no eating while walking or driving. Not only does this reflect poorly on your personality, but it's also unsafe. Distracted driving, after all, is the leading cause of automobile accidents. Moreover, never eat with your mouth open. That's just disgusting. Be sure to use a napkin. Don't play with your food. Use your cutlery properly. And I shouldn't even have to say this, but I must. Wash your hands both before and after. Being a gentleman takes effort, but it is surely worth it.
I wanted to
Number
know
2,
if they have
don't
ways
litter.
that they're supposed to sit down.
Next on the list of
and
things
all of that.
elegant men never do in public.
This is just basic human
That's a
decency,
big
no?
no-no. If there's a trash can nearby, make sure that you toss your trash into it. If one
take it
isn't
off.
readily available, you can hold on to your garbage until you find a proper place to dispose of it. Elegant men understand.
Oh
There's
my
not much
God.
on the ways of how men should walk. There isn't anything of how. This goes back to the biases. There isn't. Let me see how black men should walk or pick things up. I don't know.
Is this what early Kevin Samuels may have been doing? He may have been telling men
literally
how
as you
to
said
how to
that,
do bits.
Is that
it
who
came
popped
up-
up?
Kevin Samuels
Was it
teaches
Kevin
men
Samuels?
how to level up. Okay, we're gonna go back to the Red Pill King.
Oh, God.
Is this your king, guys? Kevin Samuel teaches men how to level up.
$14 an hour at McDonald's, you can go over to On Q or Circle K or a convenience store, make another $14 an hour. $14 an hour one place is $28,000 one year. Then another 14, that's $42,000. Then you can actually be in a position to move out of your mama's house, move into an all furnished apartment, get you a little sugar shaker or a bike, and get out there and start doing something.
Oh.
Full time at a fast food place? Good. I need you to have another part-time job because you're making $14 an hour at McDonald's. You can go over to On Q or Circle K.
This is about how to make money. How about
No,
how
don't
black
watch that.
how black men should what dress?
The
Black
dressing
guys-
space is there. That's like absolutely there with the dressing space. I was more wondering, like, is there a this is how men should walk? Like, is that a thing that men get taught?
How black
Yeah,
men,
you know, like when women are taught, like, don't bend over if you've got a skirt on. You
how
know,
to walk
yeah,
with
that type of
confidence?
stuff.
No, you've only got this.
The lover. The lover. Sexy undercover. She call me Mr. Bombastic. When you're fantastic. Touching on my back, she says I'm Mr. Romantic. Tell me fantastic. Touching on my back, she says I'm Mr. Boom. Smooth. Just
yeah. Okay.
Oh my God.
In Ocean's 11, Brad Pitt tells Matt Damon how to pull off a con. It's basically like, don't walk too slow, don't walk too fast. Be funny, but don't be memorable. There's really a sense of like being aware of how I'm being in the world. Because if I feel like if I see a cop and I start to walk too fast, they're going to think I did something wrong. But if I'm walking too slow, maybe they think I'm, facing them off somehow. So there is a sense of like just keeping the cop in my peripheral vision and also making sure that I stay on the same path that I was started on, even if I realize that path might be the wrong path, because I gotta be like, I just gotta make sure this guy thinks that I belong in the area that I am and I know where I'm going.
Okay.
And on some level, that's just
So that's it's a more serious one. Like,
Yeah, that's yeah.
So that's I don't know how to walk like an attractive man.
Many guys do the short, quick, almost frantic, light pacing with their walk because they're in a rush to get to their destination. I want you to set the pace every time you walk, and I want you to follow 3 key rules. Always keep your head high. Take steps that are about 2 to 3 feet in length. Make sure they're nice, wide stride. You want to sway your shoulders. Many guys do the short, quick, almost...
By the way, sway your shoulders, take 2 to 3 feet steps, and then you're walking like a man. We can go on. We can go on.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay.
Oh.
So there's that. What's the
What we
time?
got? Final stories.
Well, there's just this. There's a song that I found that for it is International Women's Month, and a song that I found that I thought you might like.
Wait, before you do that, can I just say, like in southern states, they do that whole etiquette thing with the girls. They do that whole training and stuff. Yeah, I just googled etiquette classes for men, and AI said this is not available.
There you fucking go. Look at that. All right, here we go. I found this video. It's white women singing about black women.
Black women, they lead the way. Trust black women, they lead the way. White women, stop abandoning your sisters. Trust black women, they lead the way. Oh, we're mad as hell. Oh, can't you tell? Oh, we're mad as hell. Can't you tell? We dissent, you fucking Teen fashion. Oh, we're mad as hell. Can't you tell?
Thank you.
Oh. God.
Okay.
Okay, white women.
Yeah. Okay, exactly. Okay, white women. How about that? Happy independent.
I don't think that works. Like,
of course it doesn't.
I see white women in spaces, like, especially on TikTok, trying to talk to their fellow white woman, and they always seem to kind of refer to black women in there. Like, black women have been telling us, and it's like, that doesn't work. You need to just go down to the nitty-gritty and speak to your fellow sisters about what they should be doing. That's right. It doesn't need to be in relation to, but black women said this. Just talk to your chick. Like, as women, we should be doing this with each other. Like, we shouldn't, we like, have the conversation, but I don't think black people need to be involved in this. This is you guys' convo. You need to level up yourselves. It shouldn't be because black women told you something. You know what I mean? Like, it just annoys me. I'm always like, why are you mentioning us? Talk to your brethren.
Don't stand on the street with a fucking megaphone singing "Just Black Women." Just don't do that.
So the theme of when the states go marching in.
Exactly. Anyway, this is more. We had our king, the King of England,
Your
not our
king,
king,
not my king,
not my king, but the King of England, Prince. I want to call him Prince Charles.
He's looking like his mum, isn't he?
Is he okay though? Look how pale he looks.
So basically, guys,
doesn't he
King
look like
Charles,
Queenie?
he does. King Charles has curated a personal playlist for Apple Music, featuring a diverse range of artists, including black musicians like Grammy-nominated British singer-songwriter Ray, reggae legend Bob Marley, global Afrobeat star Davido, and the iconic Grace Jones. The playlist released to mark Commonwealth Day, by the way, reflects the King's lifelong appreciation of music. It also includes anecdotes about his experiences with some of the featured artists. I'm going to play this wonderful video from King Charles.
Music has meant a great deal to me.
Jesus.
No, but you're the
But this morning, the Prince was in jovial mood, determined to maintain the relaxed atmosphere that has surrounded this tour.
They agreed to blow a couple of notes, sufficiently in tune to avoid being called a whining pom.
Oh, dig that crazy rhythm.
Oh, no.
Insane. Right.
Dig that crazy rhythm.
Songs which have brought me joy. This seemed such an interesting and innovative way to celebrate this year's Commonwealth Day. Thank you for listening.
So, are you guys going to
So this is from the royal channel, yeah?
Yeah.
The royal family's channel.
Yeah.
I hate this. I hate this. I hate all of the black people that were involved in the making of that little video as well. I hate it.
I hate it.
It's interesting as well because obviously Meghan, Duchess of whatever the hell she's Duchess of, can't remember.
Sussex.
Sussex, that's it. Duchess of Sussex. So her second series, her Netflix show came out the other day, and there was a backlash. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's tone deaf! How dare she do this at this point in time?" And then he releases this shit, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's wonderful! Isn't he so down with the kids?" King Charlie. I got this wonderful. He's letting us into his life, and it's just the hypocrisy of it all. It's so funny to me.
Charlie Boy is sitting there jamming to Davido and Ray, and maybe Bob Marley, maybe a bit of classical. But do you really believe he's like?
Absolutely not.
No, someone
maybe Bob Marley
for him.
Maybe Bob Marley.
Yeah.
But Bob Marley.
If he's jamming to Bob Marley, I can guarantee you he's not listening to Redemption Song, and he's not listening to Buffalo Soldier. He ain't listening to them tunes.
No,
he's listening to No Woman, No Cry. Maybe that's probably the one that he listens to. But he ain't listening to the rest of them, because if he did, he would. If he did, he would relinquish his ties to the Empire if he was listening to Bob Marley properly. It's just nonsense. And this whole fucking Commonwealth thing is nonsense as well. Commonwealth Day or whatever the hell it is. It's just another way of saying British Empire. That's what the Commonwealth was. That's how they reframed it, from being the British Empire to the Commonwealth. That's all it is.
He's the worst guy. And that they thought that this would be good. You know what? The thing with the Meghan thing as well, in a similar vein, like I'm never going to protect that woman, because she also just wanted to be a ruler over Africa as well. So she can be in bed with them, but both projects are tone deaf. Like at this moment in time, where we don't even know if we're going to have a World War III, people are struggling to feed themselves. That she has an opulent food shit on Netflix. It's just like, bro, like use your head. You're hated already. Like literally, like come on now. If you're gonna do anything with your title, your role, your celebrity, that ain't the show that we needed. Absolutely not. But also for him, this ain't it. Like who cares what Charles listens to? Is Charles actually even alive? Like that, he's painted and pale. Are you okay, bro? Like about your sitting at talking about your music. Are you okay?
He's trying to do that thing that Obama does.
Yeah.
You know, like Obama at the end of every year does that. This is my playlist. He's trying to get with the people. It's just,
I mean, Charles has always been a bit of a down one, but you know, it doesn't work, and it's a lie. And you're not Barack. You're not Barack. No one cares. Even Barack's reputation is holding, like, you know, as things go on.
By a string.
The older he gets, the more people are like, okay, well, we know that now this is a curated playlist. Do you listen to everybody? But we believe Obama more than we believe Charlie Boy. Don't try it. Enough is enough is enough is enough is enough.
Will Smith, that's my point. If he truly does have cancer, you're not okay. Why are you doing this? Like, get healthy.
And do you know what Charles should do? What it was more fitting to who he is an exploration of the empire, and because he's always been seen as a man of the people, then you need to do an exploration. That's what your podcast should be about. How my family ravaged the world. How about that? And what we're doing.
Seen as a man of the people, though, like really.
Huh?
I said, like, really hasn't been seen as a man
that
of the people.
That is interesting. Yeah,
it's branding. Branding. No, I don't say that. Yeah, not as, like he's seemed like, because when he was his Greenpeace, his kind of, I'm a bit more liberal, then he turned into this kind of, now I'm positioning myself as a leader. He seemed to have a bit more accessibility, even though there just seemed a little bit of branding. No one believed him, but it seemed like he was a bit more like, not so much in for what all of this. I don't know. There's some stuff in the early 90s, maybe 2000s, and now he's gone full.
Are you like attributing like the Prince's Trust? That type of
things like that. That's what I was thinking. I just think that is just, again, branding, as opposed to that's what he's really about. Because if he was really about that, he would be relinquishing his grip on the colonies that he's still fucking is head of state for. Like, get rid of that shit.
Absolutely.
I do remember back before he got with Camilla, maybe not even when he was with Diana, he was kind of seen as like a bit of a rebellious prince in a way. Like he was going to try and he would like rebrand the monarchy, but then obviously everybody kind of hated him. And then we since learned that he actually is just a sycophant and he wanted everybody to worship him.
Yeah.
And that's his story. It's interesting.
Let's not forget about when he was what's the word? I forget it. The coronation. And the chant that everyone was supposed to say when he did his coronation. You're supposed to,
what was
basically. Do you not remember? We spoke about it on the pod.
Yeah, remember the
spiritual chant that you had
Yeah,
to
the-
pledge allegiance to, and all at a certain time
blood oath
to Charles. That was crazy.
Yes, to reaffirm the royal family.
and have that
Yeah.
Well,
freaking
didn't some people do it? That was done, wasn't it? Some people did it.
Lots of people
Yeah.
did it.
people did it, but not I. We all turned our backs, didn't we? We were like, not I.
Yeah, we were like, not me.
Yeah. Absolutely not. I mean, he is straight up Charles. I will never call him king.
Will Smith, you never did
And
that.
I'm
None
sure
of them.
said,
They are.
I'm sure they said at that time that it hadn't been done before in the coronation. That they're requesting that you all pledge allegiance or say whatever it is to him. It hadn't been done. Why are you doing that, bro? If you're talking about the people, why are we pledging to you? You should be pledging to us.
If there's evidence before that you needed that these people are some sort of worshippers, that was it, man. We were not.
I mean, his coronation was a lot. Definitely.
Was a lot.
I mean, obviously, I wasn't about when the Queen was had her coronation, but to watch a coronation and all of the secret parts. Remember when they all went around and he was like shrouded
I didn't watch it.
in between people? Oh,
I didn't
Farrah,
watch
it was
it.
crazy. It's like they shrouded him. He was surrounded by 3 people, and they did things behind like a little, like they had cloth around them. So whatever takes place in there was like, oh, this is nuts. It was just full of rituals, like constantly, and colors. And it's like, no, you guys are, you have millions of eyes while you're doing a ritual. And
Yeah,
we
look
all
at that
witness it.
painting.
Who approves this type of painting, please?
He
Who
said
approves
he loved it.
He loves
He
it.
did. He said he loves this
Exactly.
painting.
Exactly.
It's like he's the devil.
Bruh.
It is scary.
Allegedly.
that does look like a blood sacrifice. There's no
does.
way around it.
Honestly.
And that's up.
Guys, that has been news and nonsense. We got into it. So where was the news and nonsense? Well, it is International Women's Month. I love you, my ladies and my sisters. We spoke about it's big news about the disproportionate deaths and abuse that women suffer. Absolutely news. It's a bit nonsense of whataboutery, but not also discounting what men go through, but it is about women. And Andrew Tate is a full nonsense.
He's a nonce.
I mean, he's on the run again, isn't he now? Like, he's left America, apparently. So
Has he
we
left?
don't know where apparently he's left. That's what news out there on the streets is.
They
That
clapped his
he has.
passport, or they arrested him on site.
No, he so basically the Florida have opened up some type of an investigation.
Okay.
But
a bit of a criminal investigation.
Yeah.
he is still free to fly. So we'll find out where he is, where he's gonna
Probably
land.
in the White House.
He'll probably come back here. I would think he could come back to I can't see if he goes back to Luton or wherever. I don't think they're gonna open up anything in this country.
Here.
So let's see.
It's just gonna play that horrible
Yeah.
music.
Glenn Himes said turkey for his hairline. Yeah. They could go and sort out their hair, Tristan included. He has a massive bald spot at the back.
Okay, so Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier has now launched a criminal investigation. He calls the actions atrocious and says the state will use the full force of the law.
Yeah.
The investigation comes as multiple women, including minors, have come forward. On March 4th, officials executed warrants and subpoenas in an active criminal investigation. Okay, Governor Ron DeSantis has already spoken out against the Tate brothers. Okay, but Trump allies, including Donald Trump Jr., have criticized their treatment.
Of course he has.
Yeah, of course. And
Because apparently it's Barron. Is his name Barron? Is that his name?
Barron Trump.
Yeah, he's a fan of the Tates.
Oh, for crying out loud. The boy, how old is Barron? How old is
But
he?
Barron's the one that was like his kind of media advisor, was telling him to go on all the podcasts and everything. Yeah.
Barron Trump is 18 years old.
He listens to him. He thinks he's going to be a great leader eventually.
We didn't even get into the Trump nonsense, but we'll have to do that next week because there's a lot. We will never come off the internet.
The internet.
The
internet.
Somebody said he's 20.
It says 18 on the internet, though. It says he's 18 years old. Yeah, 14th of February, the 18-year-old classmate, Tom Vanderfield, he's 18. Yeah. All right.
Crazy. Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you. That has been News and Nonsense. We'll be back next Sunday at noon with more News and Nonsense. Tune in. What's our shows? Nana, what's the first show they can tune into?
Okay, you guys can join us on Tuesday at 1 p.m. for Labrish Live. And we are going to be talking about the last installment of Love is Blind Season 8. And I think we're going to do maths as well. Yes, I need to catch up. So Love is Blind Season 8 and Maths Australia, which is flipping phenomenal. It's such a good season.
Maths Australia is the best one. It really is.
Yeah. It's
Farrah,
crazy.
Farrah, what else?
And then on Friday, you can tune into the main Your Aunties Could Never show, where we will be in the studio and we will just be discussing our enemies of progress.
And as I said before, come back on a Sunday for News and Nonsense at noon, where we get into all the news and nonsense of the past week and beyond. There's a lot of nonsense out there in these streets. Keep safe. And that's it. Lots of love.
Please, guys, if you're watching as well, we haven't told you throughout this, but please subscribe to our channel. We are on the road to 10K and we are so close. We just need more of you subscribing and sharing. Okay, so do that now. Subscribe as well.
Stay blessed and stay black wherever you are around the world. That's what I had to say.
Stay black.
Wherever you are. Bye, guys.